So before we get started in this podcast discussion, welcome everyone. You might want to check out our Patreon because there will be a blooper reel that will be made available to you of the roughly 10 minutes or 8 minutes of us trying to get started with this. That's also why I'm breaking the ice right now, because Lindsay may have had some trouble starting the podcast.
We're in our new setup. I hope you guys like it. It just feels really professional, and it's hard to not turn into a newscaster the second you sit down in here, and it's like the lights, the nice chairs, the fake plants, little Jonathan.
They're not fake. Don't ruin the illusion.
Okay,
that's
the
a real
plants.
palm frond over there.
Guts on the wall.
He's real too.
Yeah. Today we are going to be making a really special video. A video that we're really excited about and really happy that we can finally make.
And more to come in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we would, first of all, I would really like to thank all of the Haikyuu fans, just in general, first of all, from watching our videos and being super supportive all the way through. It's been a real treat to have people watching and commenting and engaging with our content in such a meaningful and like intellectual and emotional way. It's just been really nice. And along with that, thank you to everyone who submitted questions for this video. A lot of them were like fat, like huge things that were like nicely worded and well thought out, and really like good things that actually make you think about it, because I think what a lot of people like maybe don't realize if they haven't watched it is that Haikyuu is like, there's a lot of layers to it. It's not just a sports thing. It's not just about playing volleyball. There's so many themes throughout the entire thing, and even in just like different characters and different episodes, different like team structures versing each other. It just creates for like a lot of really deep like emotional stuff going on, I think.
True. I liked every minute of it, except for a few parts in season 4 that I feel like, well, I liked it, but I didn't love it as much as the rest. But
yeah,
as we've spoken of, and we'll probably get to more of that soon. A lot of this might be repeating thoughts, but I know that not everybody watches every single discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully if you like maybe binged our reactions and didn't like catch every insight that we had over the course of the last 8 months, then we repeating some stuff won't be too big of a deal. And some things might be more fresh than others, but yeah, we got some questions in the future. Well, we're going to start now that we have this is a huge step forward for like our channel and everything. So we're going to be having more videos like this. So if you guys leave a like and subscribe, please leave a like and comment. And there's a bunch of shows on our channel that we've reacted to that now we've thought of things in a different way. So we'll probably like Angel Beats was the first one that we'll probably do, and there's a bunch of other ones that we want to get to, and just more discussion based things. And so we hope you guys enjoy stuff like this, because there's going to be more of it coming. And what better one to start with in the new setup than Haikyuu, because like you said, it's like it's such an incredible experience that we've had, and it's like, it really is. I feel like we definitely got something more out of it because we have the channel and everything, because we have everybody who is just so, they care so much. Like in other reaction series we've done, people really care about how we experience things or what we think about things. Like there are some series more than others, but in this one, it's like, I get the feeling that like people really do want us to enjoy it, and people are genuinely happy like when we enjoy it. And it's about, I feel like when we make the videos, Haikyuu is like a way for all of us to like connect, rather than people like just like, it feels less content farmy, because reactions can feel like that, where it's just like you get in front of a camera and
I feel like we gained a lot from the comments, and I feel like people commenting wanted us to enjoy the show. If there was anything that they missed that they were pointing out, it wasn't out of a criticism that we missed it. It was that they just know that we would enjoy the show that much more had we looked at it this way, or if we considered this. It's really nice. And I also feel like the show was just such a breath of fresh air, and I think someone commented on it. I don't think on the questions, but on one of our videos, that Haikyuu was like almost the perfect show for our type of reactions.
Yeah.
Because we aren't super hyped reactors who will just, like, for Haikyuu is probably our most hype reactions
For sure.
out of any show. Even in shows like Naruto, Jujutsu, like big fights, crazy stuff happening. It takes a lot, and I think we as reactors are most invested when the emotional and thematic parts of the story are boosted by the fight.
Yes.
Not just it's not just the animation, it's not just the cool moves, it's not just like someone getting punched in the face. It's the struggle, metaphorically and literally, that the characters are going through in that moment. And I think the low stakes of Haikyuu, in terms of it being high school volleyball, allows you to get so invested because it's so relatable, and like nothing needs to be done with the plot to make it more intense.
Yeah.
Other than just having characters that you care about and you want to win, and also making you endeared to the other team. You're against this team, you're like, yeah, I want to win. And then they just have the most tragic backstory that you're like, but they should win just so that they're not sad, you know?
Yeah.
And they really sell the losses and celebrate the wins, and the like overall sportsmanship just in like the whole world in Haikyuu it's just like you wish you were there, you know?
Yeah. And I talked about this a lot in season 2, and when we had some discussions in season 2, that like, and I've talked about it multiple times since, but the main thing that really struck me about Haikyuu is that, yeah, it's not like you said, the emotional aspect of it and the character aspect. In a lot of shonen, it's like an excuse to show the big action, and it's just like a hurdle that authors need to get through, that like so that people can be attached to, like, say if you're writing a manga and you're just trying not to get canceled by Shonen Jump, you're just like, I need to like make sure that I hook people with the characters. Like, how many hooks can I get in each person? and it's just an excuse so that when the fight really comes, then you can, you know, wow people with animation, or in the case of manga, it's like just with the action. Mm-hmm. And it's not like that in this. In this, it's the reason that they're that everybody's playing is so much more important than I feel a lot of different shows, because it's all so positive. It's all about positivity, and this is the point that I made a lot in season 2. It's like it became so apparent in season 2 when, after they had their first big game, it feels very downtrodden. Everybody's like struggling. Everybody needs to like reinvent themselves as a player, and it's like there's a big challenge there, but it never felt hopeless. It never felt like, you know, it never felt depressing ever. Like there was times of like serious struggle and stuff. Like I'm thinking of a specific. I won't go into detail right now so that this can remain like relatively spoiler free until we get like to the questions, I guess. Mm-hmm. But the conversations with Suki and Yamaguchi in season 2 when they were training and everything, very emotional, very, you know, heartbreaking in a way, but it always works out. Even when, you know, even when they don't fully work out, it's all going to be okay. It's all about growth. It's all about staying positive and not just believing in yourself, but like challenging yourself, and in a healthy way. It's not all about like, oh no, I'm a great player, I need to remember that I'm good, I need to remember that this is my ninja way type thing. Yeah. It's about like, there are serious things that I can improve on, and that's a good thing, because it's I can grow. Yeah. I can become better.
I think that's really one of the things that takes Haikyuu to the next level against other shonen, like Naruto, for example.
You could just move the mic in front of your mouth, please.
Okay. It takes it to the next level just having oh my god, there's a spider on me.
Is it dead?
No.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. It was one of those little, like, jumping ones. I guess it's on the ground now.
It probably came down from the ceiling.
Oh my god.
It came down from that thing. Okay.
We'll have to let the cats in here later.
Another for the blooper reel, I guess. Or not. Maybe I'll leave it in.
So I think that Hinata as a main character is so great because he wants to work for it.
Yeah.
He doesn't want the easy way out. He doesn't just believe in himself. He believes in his ability to put the work in and get better.
It's not about belief. That's what it's about. That's the difference with Hinata and other like classic shonen protagonists. It's not about him like struggling. Oh, can't I, whatever. It's like, it's all about, there's not, the struggle isn't even part of it with his character. This is my perspective, but like, he just wants to play. That's all it is. It's simpler, but also more intriguing because we often compare it to Naruto because it's like a big staple of our channel and it's your first like long running shonen. Using that as like a template, it's like, oh, I'm struggling, but as long as I believe in myself, I can weather this storm. With Hinata, it's interesting because he doesn't just weather the storm. It's not a storm. It's a game, and it stays a game. It's hard, and it's hard to. I don't know if maybe later in the manga or something there's a point where he's like, I'm pushing my body to the because this is something athletes go through all the time. It's like, I'm pushing my body to the limits. I cannot go any further. It's like crazy diminishing returns. If I continue training in this direction, I will get nowhere. Mm-hmm. And we kind of had that a little bit, but he didn't reach like a dead end as far as his body's concerned. So it's not like I need to figure out the answer to this problem necessarily. Like there's holes in his defense and stuff like that, and he works on that here and there. But it's never like, I'm gonna quit. Am I gonna quit volleyball? Am I gonna lose? Am I gonna give up? Am I gonna mess up my team? There's times where he has to push back, but it's never like, there's never a negative slant to anything.
And I think it's because of his outlook, like just in general, like in season 4, and there's I guess now we're kind of gonna get into a little bit more spoilers. So if you haven't seen Haikyuu, watch it and come back. Watch it, then watch our reactions, then come back to this video
and buy our merch.
Exactly, satisfying. I think when Hinata does his receive in episode 22, and then they don't get the point. Mm-hmm. Even after all of that, like he did like the perfect receive, they had the perfect setup, and then it still didn't go through. Yeah. And everyone else, it's like, oh my god. Even when we're at our worst receiver
on top of the game,
did the best ever, we still can't do it. How after that will we ever stand a chance? Hinata, he's not looking at it like that. He is looking at the personal victory of he finally did something that he'd been struggling with the entire time.
Yeah.
And that inspired everyone else. And I think it's just so great to have a show that's so positive. And I also really like that Hinata as a main character, they like play like the whole team is almost the main character. We hear about everyone so often. It's not just Hinata's the main character and these guys are along for the ride. They don't lose him in the crowd. Mm-hmm. They bring him back just enough, especially at the start of season 4 with the whole ball boy arc.
Yes.
That I really like that because it really got back to him as the character. Yeah. Where we defeated the first big boss.
Yeah.
And now Hinata needs to do a little bit of training and a little bit of personal growth and starting back from the bottom in a way that he didn't do before because he trained and trained and trained, but he didn't have the classic experience. And I also really like that because it shows it just I don't know, it put a different perspective on his training and showed that sometimes you do need to, like, there isn't an easy way around doing the proper training. Even though he's awesome at his thing that he can do and he can get better at that through practice, sometimes you need to go back to basics. If you were training by yourself, didn't have someone telling you what to do or a plan, you were just, trying to get good at something, you probably neglected other things. But
again, it's not it's an important thing to know because I think it's where Haikyuu's strength lies. It's like, it's not a struggle. It's not like he's humbling himself, and that's like, a thing he's doing, but it's not like he was cocky to begin with, or he thinks he deserves something more or whatever. He's like, he is excited. He's scared. I think he's scared in the Ball Boy arc, but he's excited to be around all these people and get the opportunity just to be on the court and playing with other players.
And that's what
that's the best part. That's what's really inspiring. Because I just want to get to one thing. Another thing in season 4, it was, I think, on the last rally or the last point or something. It was right after that receive. I think it was Osamu, one of the Mia twins. I think it was the silver. I think it was whatever, Ginkaku, whatever the silver brother would be. He has that whole speech about like hunger or whatever, and how he's like, Hinata plays volleyball like he eats whatever food he said, whatever Japanese food. He's like, it's like how you eat when you're starving, where you're just like, you can't get enough food. You just love to, and there's like a primal satisfaction there. And there's something like deep there, and something wholesome. And that's what Hinata is, and that's what the show really represents. And I cannot stress enough like how important that is as an inside boy, that it's intrinsic value, like it to get a little bit like outside of the series, finding like intrinsic value in something is so rare. Like how many things in your life do you do just for the sake of doing it? Like even gaming, for people who get into gaming, like if you talk to league players, for example, it's all about like, you need to stay on the grind, you need to stay on top of it, whatever, ranked in any game, Valorant or whatever it is. It's like when you talk to these people, or WoW's a great example, or MMOs, it's like it stops becoming intrinsically valuable to do, and it becomes like you're part of a community, or you're part of a guild, and you're like, you need to keep up and sharpen your skills so that you don't fall behind your peers, and it becomes competitive, but not in like a wholesome way. They lose what Hinata retains throughout Haikyuu. It's the intrinsic sense of meaning and value in what you're doing. And there's so few things in life that we do that's like that. So having that be the main like thing that people could take away from it, like, I want to do something that makes me feel like Hinata feels. I want somebody who looks at me like Hinata looks at the volleyball type thing. Like, that's so important. It's a great lesson. It inspires me. Maybe I want to fucking, I don't know. In my town, is there a volleyball like adult league or something like that? Maybe I want to go do that, or try out some other thing.
What I do like is that, because it's not just about getting better at volleyball specifically, and only volleyball, it's more about getting better at something that you love. It's a bit more applicable and relatable. If I don't like volleyball, but I really like playing the piano, and I feel that joy from doing that, so seeing him put in so much effort and just enjoy, like, I feel like it just makes you consider. And the fact that they constantly highlight the difference between the players who love volleyball and when Suki discovers his love of volleyball, go to that next, it takes it to a new level, and he gets better, not just because he put in the work to get better, but because he within himself realized and admitted how much he enjoyed it and how much value it brought into his life. So I think that's really nice. And when I just want to circle back around, because you went past it a little bit, but I wanted to say, when Hinata, during the ball boy arc, snuck into that training camp, what I love about it is that it wasn't because he thought he deserved to be there. It was because he wanted to play. He wanted to play with those guys. He didn't go because he was salty that they were like, that he wasn't good enough. He wasn't angry and like trying to prove them wrong. He just wanted the opportunity to play against better people. And I think that that's really important as well, because I think it just fits with the wholesomeness of it. He's not doing it to prove anything to anyone other than he just wants to play strong players. That's what he wants to do.
It's a lot like, you haven't seen Dragon Ball, but that's where Hinata gets way more classic shonen, is the challenging nature of it, because like Goku, for example, is another like template shonen hero That's his whole thing. He's in English. In the English dub, it's funny they change it. I'll get off this in a second. But in the English dub, it's funny they change him when he's going Super Saiyan and he's fighting Frieza for the final time. He's like defeating Frieza and he achieves this greater level of power and everything. He like in English he has this whole like Superman-esque thing about how he's justice and whatever the fuck. In Japanese, throughout, it's a constant like choice that Toriyama makes of Goku. He's not trying to be like Japanese Superman. All he wants to do is become stronger and fight. That's just what he enjoys. He has a similar like intrinsic sense of value in that. And that's the difference between somebody like Goku and Vegeta. Vegeta is always trying to prove his pride. That's why I often compare him to Kageyama. Because Kageyama is very prideful. He's very like, I'm this good. You need to rise to my level or you're not worth me playing with you, etc., etc. And anyway, that's one thing. But that's speaking of like wholesomeness and growth and stuff like that. That's something that's interesting about the Ball Boy arc specifically is that it's probably the most dour arc in the whole show because it's the one time where like, especially when Ushiwaka drops that thing of like, what are you even doing here? And he's like, he has to like, and there's the time it's when he's in the equipment room and he's alone and he's just like, he actually gets stressed out. And that's like, I like that they did that because it's different. It changes the whole pace of things and it makes things feel way more impactful. But yeah, sometimes struggle is necessary. But it's like with the Ball Boy arc, again, he just wants to challenge himself. He wants to play better players. But it's a funny thing also where he feels he still is feeling very competitive with Kageyama because Kageyama's moving on and he says like he kind of challenges him. He's like, I'm moving ahead too. And that going back again to the growth and like the positivity aspect, Haikyuu is a good example of how friendly competition is good. It is a good thing in friends. It is a good thing in young boys. It's a good thing amongst anybody as long as it's friendly, as long as it's for the purpose of growth, not for the purpose of like dominance. I
think that's the best thing about the fights being sports because there's like multiple things that are good at that because you can win without hurting other people and it is just a game, but you can still the amount of competitiveness depends on the players that are bringing in, not even necessarily their abilities, like their drive to play and how much they love it and how far they're willing to go for it.
Right.
And I also want to talk about how having it be sports allows them to explore that the like love of it because in a fighting show during the epic battle against the strongest person ever. I know. So you're talking about Dragon Ball, how it was kind of like that originally, but it's from what I've seen, it's typically more of a life or death situation and not a time where they're like, I'm loving what I'm doing right now. I'm having such a great time. I'm feeling so good as I'm like being pushed to the brink of death.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when the team is like their knees are giving out and they're at their absolute limit, they still find that joy and that spark to drive them on, and it's such like a wholesome and like I'm feeling so good. It's not like I'm literally going to die or I have to protect my friends, or it's just it comes from within them and from their desire to like as a team, help each other and move forward and really strive for success in such a nice way.
Well, here's something again about something interesting about that, about how comparing like the sports aspect of Haikyuu in comparison to other shonen and what it does so well. It uses its differences with like a life or death style, like battle shonen, to its advantage. And what I mean by that is because it's not a life or death thing, the main characters can lose.
Yes.
They can lose, and that even if for the rest of the series, like their one loss against Seijo was like their lowest point in terms of like their loss, even if they go on to win every single thing, there's always the fear that they will lose, because if they lose, nobody's dying. Exactly. So it's not as dramatic and as like
They wouldn't kill off that character here.
It doesn't shatter the entire series. It changes the dynamic, but they can take more risks with the storytelling, and just the fact that they could, because they're not in peril.
What's gonna happen.
You don't know what's going to happen. So that's an interesting thing, because in going back to Dragon Ball as a comparison, there is that life or death thing, but there's the Dragon Balls, and there's Dragon Balls on other planets. So people get wished back to life, and that's just how it is. So like, it doesn't matter who dies. There's a heaven, and they can be sent back down to Earth in like a bullshit. The reason we need you to save this part of the galaxy, whatever. You're this strong. The Dragon Ball's like, oh, well, we used to give you one wish, but now we give you 3 wishes, so you can wish back like planets. And like, it escalates, and the reason for that is we don't want to permanently kill off these main characters that people love. It would change the dynamic too much. It would change the point of the story, because at the end of the day, Dragon Ball and Haikyuu are telling very similar stories of progress, like in the main character, of progress and perseverance and setting goals for yourself and completing them. That's why people are so inspired by Dragon Ball as well. But Dragon Ball in comparison to Haikyuu feels wonky, because it's a life or death thing, because there's always galaxy destroying attacks, because the power creep got so high in this like explosive universe where nothing feels like it matters, because there's the threat of death, but you know that nobody's actually going to get permanently killed off. At least nobody important. So in Haikyuu, where that's not a threat, where the worst that is going to happen is we're going to lose against whichever team, and then the third years are going to have to move on, and it's going to be super fucking sad when that happens, or we win and they, move on. Whatever it is, they're going to have to move on, and that is inevitable, and that is, in a way, a character death. It's like...
Yeah. But at the same time...
Again, it happened with Oikawa as well.
Yeah.
Because we saw in the Seijo ending that he was like, that was it. And with Kita, Shinsuke.
Yeah.
At the end of season 4. Anyway, yeah, that's a lot of stuff, but it's just, my point is, because there's not this threat of death, you can play with the format a lot more. And even if they don't, the fact that you can is a threat enough to make each match feel impactful, even if there's no like serious
It's like
consequences.
you're watching Game of Thrones, where they've like killed off a bunch of characters. So like, even though they might not this time, there's the complete freedom that anything can happen, and like things will get shaken up, but it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the story.
And it's not just forceful writing of like, oh, if you're not careful, this could happen.
Yeah.
When it's not, because they just signed a deal for 2 more seasons or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's they just by the conceit of the show itself and the way that it's crafted, just the thread itself is there, because they set this tone so well.
And I feel like I would really like to... this was one question that we got asked a bunch, was, will we watch more sports anime?
The answer is yes.
Yeah, the answer is yes. And I think depending on what we choose to go with, we may be, I think Haikyuu, judging from comments and what people have said, is pretty well near the top of sports anime.
I think it's the top.
I think it's
depending
as good
on what
as
you want.
Get.
I think people compare Kuroko no Basket a lot, which is the basketball show.
Yeah.
Because it depends on what you want. If you want a more wholesome thing, or if you want a way more like shonen-y type thing with like crazy attacks or whatever the fuck, then you would do that.
But
if you read manga, you do slam dunk, because
what I would like is to be able to compare other sport, like see other things within the sports realm, because obviously Haikyuu's writing and characters are so superb that I'm not going to expect that out of other sports anime. But I do find myself just liking the feel of it, and liking getting invested in something different. I don't watch sports in real life.
Yeah.
But I think what takes sports anime to another level is that you actually spend time with the characters and know them, not on a personal level, obviously, because they are characters, they're not my friend, but you have that emotional connection to them, so that their wins and their losses, and you like up close see their reactions, and you know how that will affect them long term. And I think I really enjoy it. Yeah. I really like it, and I would really like to see more, I think.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I could cut this out. Should we announce that we're doing one of the requested shows? At least one of them? Which one?
Sure.
The one that we've been talking about?
Yeah.
We will be reacting to Run with the Wind.
We will.
We will. Stay tuned for that.
Mm-hmm.
I should put that. I'll maybe pin that in the comments or something.
Yeah.
But we definitely will. We'll do that soon. We're still in a weird phase where I don't want to get into this too much, but we're still in a weird phase where we're finishing stuff off and trying to prepare for future seasons of stuff and trying to diversify our content with stuff like this and other things like that. So we will get to it. We're going to try and get to it literally as soon as we can, even if it prevents us from doing other stuff, because we want to make sure that you guys stick around. We really care about having you guys in the community.
And
again, we can get views anyway.
That we'll like.
We could start One Piece right now and get more views.
Yeah, we're not going to get many views. So if you're one of the people who recommended Run with the Wind, please watch the videos and like them.
Yes.
To help boost them to more people, because we kind of looked it up and it doesn't look like too many people have really reacted to it. But it sounds like a great show.
And maybe we'll do double videos. Leave a comment. Should we do double or single, or what would you like to see? I don't know. Just tell us if you're excited about Run with the Wind. Do that. Leave a comment, please, and leave a like.
Yes.
Just a reminder, since we're partway through the video.
Should we get into it?
Is there anything more you want to talk about with the show or anything? What was your favorite season? Or I guess maybe that's
this is what I was going to go into. First of all, I want to, now that we're getting into the questions, I want to just go over some of the biggest questions that were asked multiple times, and I feel like we should start off with, before we get into more discussion-y type questions. A lot of people asked, what would you rate Haikyuu, and what would you rate each season?
I would rate it at easy 10 out of 10.
As a whole
Easily 10
show?
out
I
of
think
10.
so as well.
Season 1 is a 10 out of 10. Season 2 is a 10 out of 10. Season 3 might be an 11. It's in my top 10
I think
seasons of anime.
Season 3 is an 11 out of 10, and it makes up for the 9 out of 10 of Season 4.
Exactly. Season 4 is a 9 out of 10. That's what I was going to say too. Yeah, it is a 10 out of 10 show easily. It's not even a question. There are some shows where you come along and it's not complete, and that's the thing. Something like Hunter x Hunter is often talked about as it's left off. A lot of people think it is left off. I won't spoil anything, but a lot of people think that it's left off sort of ambiguously. It doesn't tie up all its loose ends. It stops at a weird point, and the manga obviously isn't complete. But and I've talked about this on stream, and I won't spoil anything about it, but to me, the ending is incredible. It is a perfect place to end it off. And in something like Hunter x Hunter, yes, there are a lot of things that are established, and they are not kept up with. They are not tied off of who knows where this person went. We thought that we were going to see him again, and they just walked into the sunset. What the hell? With Hunter x Hunter, it's about the journey. It is all about the journey. It is all about, and it sets out to do that. And that's the thing I talk about with 10 out of 10 shows, is if it sets out to do something and it executes it flawlessly, even beyond what you would have expected based on its mission statement. In Hunter x Hunter, it's about, I guess that it's saying that, given what I've already said would be spoilery. It sets out to do something and it completes it by the end, and it is all about experiencing life as you go along. You meet people, you talk to them, and then maybe you will see them again. Maybe they go off and die. Who knows? That's just how life works. It's you can't predict the future, and it's all about the journey. It's all about the stories and the people you meet along the way. And there's serious heartbreak and serious loss and incredibly beautiful moments and times you'll remember for the rest of your life. But it's not about where you end up at the end. And because they set that up in the beginning and throughout the beginning of the show, once you get to the end and it leaves off kind of oh, well, what about all those things that we didn't know about? It's still a 10 out of 10 because the animation's great, the writing's top notch. The pacing wanes at points, but it's still, for what it's trying to accomplish, it checks every box. And that's how I feel about Haikyuu. Even though it's not done, I still am comfortable giving it a 10 out of 10. I'm still even with the flaws of To the Top, I still feel confident giving it a 10 out of 10 because it sets out to do something and it doesn't miss a single beat. It flawlessly executes it, except for a few flaws. But you're allowed a few flaws. Just because something has a few flaws doesn't mean it's not a 10 out of 10.
You're allowed a few flaws because they never overall, in the grand picture, they're not something that I dwell on at all, and it's completely made up for.
Yeah.
Even just a couple episodes, like, during our reactions, we talk on the episode that we were kind of like, all right, we finally need to have this discussion.
Yeah.
There are some things to address. Literally, the episode after that was Hinata's epic receive, and then it was just like,
if the rest of the season,
incredible.
If the rest of the season played out like it was happening in for the previous episodes, like if it was the same pacing, same style, same like slow, weird cuts
Awkward,
and everything,
yeah,
it would to me that would detract from the rest of the show, and the show might be a 9 out of 10. That might be enough to cut it down for me as a whole, but it saved it at the end, and it to me it keeps its status, and it's definitely in my top 10 shows. It's not just in a 10 out of 10. It's in one of my top 10s. I need to make like a solid list of
someone had asked what we would rate them on Mal. I think at this point we've seen enough shows that we will probably at some point do another Mal stream.
Right.
We did one a long time ago.
We can even do it
stuff.
in the setup. That would be fun.
Yeah, that might be cool. Yeah, we will. So if you're interested in that, we will probably be doing that because along with these discussion videos, I think it is good to have, ratings on the shows that we've seen and do them all at once. I think it's kind of fun.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. And then, other people also asked, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. What was your favorite character?
Nishinoya, easily.
I think so as well.
Really? Not Suga? I guess that Suga didn't get much play in the last season.
I think that's the thing. I think Suga, like, I feel like I would really want to be friends with Suga. Like, he's just so nice.
Yeah.
And so wholesome. But I think actually all the third years kind of got sidelined.
Not Daiichi. Daiichi got a lot of play.
That's true. Daiichi did, but
he got heavily sidelined.
He got
and I'm upset about that.
Suga was literally already on the sidelines. He wasn't a starting player, but I think the third years after, especially once we got into nationals, took a little bit of a backseat because we were exploring so many other teams and stuff. But I really like Noya. I really like almost everyone. I think maybe at some point we can do like a tier list of Haikyuu characters.
Character tier list.
Where we'll like, do it with the setup and everything and go in depth on each character and why they are where they are. But I really like Noya. I love his personality. I love his energy. I love like the chaos that comes along with him. And I also like how he really supports everyone else. And is
apparently
really
liberos can't be captains. And I remember when we were talking about in season 1, we were talking about like, well, when the third years graduate, like who's going to be the captain? And I was like, Nishinoya would be perfect. And I think that's true. But some people in the comments were like, oh yeah, that would be, I think he would be a perfect fit, but no, liberos apparently can't be captains for some reason. Because apparently that's a new position that was in the last, 10, 20 years, I forget, that was added in for short people so that it could be more accessible to other types of people. Yeah. I guess. I didn't know about that until we got to season 3 and Coach Washijo had his whole thing. Anyway, what were we even talking about?
Our favorite characters.
Nishinoya is the best character. I'm glad he got his backstory. It's funny how he got it so late, but he got it where we needed it. But to me, the fact that he got the backstory so late, because the backstory comes in a kind of struggle when like they need to get over something, need to search their past. So it's funny to me that like he's one of the best players in the show. A lot of people say he's kind of overrated. I know that Nekuma's libero is better, and he even said that he looks up to him. But Nishinoya is always mentioned in the same breath as like Kageyama, who's like, oh, they have Kageyama, who's like the best middle school setter the world's ever seen or something, or one of them. And and they also have Nishinoya from over here. He's incredible, and the fact that he's so short, he's the shortest person in the whole goddamn show, apparently. Maybe there's someone shorter. I don't know.
Isn't he taller than Hinata?
Hinata's taller than him.
Oh.
He's slightly shorter. I think that's why Hinata was, when they first met, he was like, what, you're so goddamn short. How are you even a player? Nishinoya, I can't say enough good things about him. He's awesome. He has the energy. During the start of the Ball Boy arc, I will always remember when like Hinata's like kind of down in the dumps and he is like getting kind of stressed out. Nishinoya comes in and immediately erases all of that for like a couple seconds. And it's like, I even said in the reaction, I'm like, oh my God, this is literally exactly who we needed.
Yeah.
What about you? Who's your favorite character?
I just said it was Noya.
Oh, you too? Do you have a top 3?
Top 3?
I know you said that. Actually.
It's so hard because I love... I think Noya, Tanaka, and... it's really hard because everyone else is so good. Like, I love Hinata and I want to put him in that top 3 spot just because he elevates everyone else around him, and he's just he's just so great in every way. But there are other characters that I really like specifically because of their struggles. Like, I love Suki and I love Yamaguchi as well. He's one of the standouts for me. I did not think at the beginning that Yamaguchi would be one of my favorites. I was like, why is this guy even here?
I immediately knew he would be a standout.
And then he just when he like, especially with him and Suki, it was like the perfect relationship. And I loved how he was always working in the shadows out in the parking lot at night, and he really had the drive to go all out.
And the fact that he scored 5 points in a row against
so
Shiratori
good.
fucking Zawa. Are you kidding me? Or was it against Seijo?
No, it was Seijo.
It was Seijo?
Or maybe it was even something. I don't remember. It wasn't Shiratori Zawa. It was in season 2. He did score some on Shiratori Zawa, but his like epic one was
it was previously. A Seijo. Yeah, either way. Yeah, it's like that's like one of the most memorable moments in the whole series. I think Yamaguchi, I don't know who my top 3 would be.
It's so hard.
Noya's number 1, and it might be Hinata, Yamaguchi. I like Suki a lot after his thing, but what about not crossing
I was
characters?
just going to ask, because that's what also a lot of people said. They said, like, who's your favorite
Daiichi. Daichi's one of my top 3.
He's so good. Everyone's awesome. So good.
Daichi's definitely one of my top 3.
Before we move on to other teams, do you have a least favorite player or someone that you wish was, like, we got a little bit more from?
More? My least favorite, but I wish we got more.
Like like everyone. I'm saying everyone's so good, so you probably don't have anyone that you actively dislike. But there might be people that you wish you got more from, if you know what I mean.
Was walking on the pink jersey team? Do you remember?
I'm talking about Kurosano.
Oh, in Kurosano?
Yeah.
I feel like Kinoshita is a bit overhyped in season 4, and maybe it is the pacing. Maybe I wouldn't have liked it. Maybe I wouldn't have.
Kinoshita's the one with the
spiky.
Yeah,
he's the other pinch server. I don't like. The thing is, I don't like his gimmick. I don't like his gimmick of like, I've visualized it this many times. I hope the payoff for that is cooler than the setup, because the setup for that seems kind of limp. It feels like they already had a really strong setup for a pinch server type character on the roster. And there's not enough competition between him and Yamaguchi. It's just kind of implicit. And maybe we'll get more to that after Nationals and maybe at the start of next year.
If I don't know how long. I know that Haikyuu is completed, the manga is completed, but I don't know how much has been adapted, so I don't really. And I don't want to know, because I don't want to know the timeline and be able to predict based on that. Because if we lose at Nationals or if we win at Nationals, either way, the third years would leave, and the sideline players that we've gotten glimpses of might get a bigger spot.
Right.
So if that happens, he might, really come into his own. I do think that because Yamaguchi did the same thing, but so much better, that it just seemed like, okay, this guy's here. He's like trying to be a pinch server.
I'm not that pissed off about it, because it sounds like you're kind of mad about it. It's like this guy, whoever he is, shows up trying to do Yamaguchi's job. Like, I just don't get it. It's kind of cringe. I'm not saying it like that. I don't agree with that.
No, I'm saying I want a little bit more from him. I want a little bit more to his personality, or a little bit more of his relationship with Yamaguchi. Like you said, a little bit more
I don't think he has like a strong relationship.
I meant like
with
a little bit more of a rivalry, or a little bit more of a friendly competition.
Something more to grasp onto, because the gimmick alone of like visualization, and that's like his, like, because it's a tag, it's a character tag in writing that like you give the character like this one thing that they do, and then that's like something the audience can grasp onto. And I'm not crazy about that. It could turn out to be awesome if the payoff is awesome. But right now I'm not too crazy about him. There's the guy with the shaved head. I forget what his name is. Narita.
Okay.
I think.
Maybe, I'm not sure.
He's all right, but he's a placeholder that they need to like fill up, because that's one thing about Haikyuu is because it's so the author pays so much attention to rotations and stuff like that. You need like, I feel like he had a certain amount of characters who were not developed early on, so that you could fill that out in case during a match like you needed to add other things to rotation, because that's like a constant thing that I think in the manga is probably focused on more, maybe. But like the rotation of players and how they go through, it's constant. I don't understand it. I don't have my head wrapped around it. It's very simplified as far as my viewing of it. But I feel like that was really their purpose. So anything that's added onto them is kind of bonus, because they were kind of placeholders to begin with. Yeah.
I did like Inosha. I think he was the best handled of the three bench dudes.
His episode was awesome.
It was so good because I liked it.
Heart-wrenching.
Because he like really came in and did his own thing, and it wasn't something that we had seen before because it was a situation we hadn't seen before. And I did like that.
I really liked that. I liked how I'll always remember that shot of when he like stayed home. He went home instead of going to club. And he's sitting there reading, and it's just like something about it, watching the sun drift across the kitchen table there and the window behind him or whatever it is, like, and he's kind of lazing about, and he changes how he's sitting, and he takes a nap, and he's like, he looks so gluttonous and sloth. Like, he's so like, that like satisfied look on his face without doing anything. And obviously I'm not shitting on that. I'm literally that guy. I'm sitting here, we make money watching anime. I'm not casting any stones. But I'm saying it because I think it's a purposeful choice on part of the staff and on part of the original author. I think that it's made to feel like, oh, that's kind of cozy and nice, but like you're
satisfied?
You're slipping. You're giving yourself too much slack. You're losing the plot, and you're losing your potential, and you know it, and you're just kind of chilling a little bit, having another popsicle.
And I think that's good, because I think a lot of people who aren't as, like, if you do play sports, but you're not as into it like someone like Hinata or Kageyama, who's like,
he's probably really
life
relatable.
Is the sports. They love it. It's everything they've ever wanted. If you just like playing sports, I feel like it's easy once you get a taste of not doing it. Oh, I don't have to go on a 20-mile run today. That's kind of nice. I could get used to this, but it is, if you let yourself get into that, you can just go on forever and never do anything again. So the fact that he did go back to it was really important as well.
Yeah, I love that episode. And I think even more than somebody who's like kind of lackadaisical about sports, it's more, I feel like it's more meant, like the purpose of it from a writing perspective is probably more meant to relate to people like me or people who don't play sports and who live a more like lazy kind of lifestyle. It feels kind of inspiring because it sort of turns the mirror on you, and then you have to like, it kind of reflects yourself a little bit if you're like that, and if you don't, or if you have something that you really love, like even if it's not sports and you're like kind of taking a break from it even though you're procrastinating. It's his whole character, that flashback was about procrastination, and it was very very relatable, I think. Very good. But yeah, as other characters that like didn't get enough play in Crossnow, for sure, Asahi. I loved him. I loved him. He had the strongest intro in the whole show to me. And then they replayed his arc at the start of season 4 during their practice match with Datiko. And it felt really cheap. I didn't say it in the episode because I was just trying to take it as it came. I wasn't trying to like get too locked in about like everything they said about the season is true. Just trying to take it as it comes. But yeah, that was Asahi. It feels like in season 3 even he hardly got any play. Like I feel like there should have been more like with season 3, it's hard for me to even critique it because it's so goddamn good. But like as far as if you're talking about giving Asahi play specifically, I feel like there should have been more like he's our ace. There's Ushiwaka, who's like the powerhouse arm. But I feel like maybe they kind of removed him a little bit because he's also very strong and has like a really strong attack.
I think also it's because like he did improve his serve
they didn't want that
as
like
well,
parallel,
which was good. But I just felt like he was always a little bit undersold compared to everyone else, or he was oversold because it was the same. Oh, the Iron Wall, back at it again. Oh, and look, he blasted through.
The thing that I don't like about the return of the Iron Wall is it made the Iron Wall so much shittier.
I agree.
You know, like before it was like the Iron Wall. They're so badass, and they did well, didn't they? They lost their
third years.
Their original, yeah. They went on. They left the club so they could do their studies. So that they lost something, and Asahi also gained a lot of experience. So. That comparison, it would have been cool if they felt like more of a threat, but like their setter is still that guy. I love him to death. I forget his name, but he's still not on that level. And it was too much of a disparity. It made me lose a little bit of respect for Datako, as much as I don't like to say
the
it.
main purpose of that was probably to set up for future stuff. If there is like a next year, third year's leave, we're back up against Iron Wall, or we move. I don't know. Either way, I think it's just showing the potential that is now stirring within them. They're not just about the Iron Wall anymore.
I disagree.
You think?
I disagree. No, I think that the purpose was to show how far we've come. I think that they were an early practice match, and we struggled against them. We went from pre-series of Asahi quitting the club because of how poorly he performed against them. Or like how he lost his confidence. 2, he breaks through in a practice match, not with them. 2, we face them, and wait, did we face them?
Yeah, we
in a tournament.
Yeah.
In the tournament, we beat them in the tournament, right?
Yeah.
So then we move on. Or no, did Seijo beat them? Or it was the first or the second one? Anyway, my point is, either way, we beat them in the tournament. We beat them in an actual match. Mm-hmm. We move on. We fucking kick Shiratorizawa's ass. Not really. We conquer like a serious task, and we grow from it tremendously. And Seijo, our like main rival at the time, other than Nekoma. So then we return back to like our previous. It's like going back to the first town in an RPG, where like you're going and you're beating crazy bosses. You storm the castle, you beat you kill the dragon, and then you come back to the main town where there's that like bully that fucked with you when you were a kid character in the tutorial. Yeah. And that's what it's really about. I don't think it's really... I mean, maybe it's setting up for them, but I think at this point, Datako is kind of there as a measuring stick for our progress. And from a writing perspective, it's good, but I also really like all the teams. So it also feels back, as like you said earlier in the discussion, it's like, I love all the guys. I love all of them. They're awesome. Yeah. They're all great. I love all the teams. I want them all to succeed all the time. I don't want us to like beat them down like they're nothing and then move on to the next thing. Yeah. I want everybody to improve. I want to see how far they go. But it seems narratively like the reason for that practice match was to be like, look how far we've come. Look how easily Asahi like breaks through them, and look how like, and that because it's immediate. Like, we were fighting them before. They're not quite the same now. They've even leveled up in their own way this time, but you know, we're still better than them, and that was their purpose. So I don't know. All that to say, Asahi was one of my top favorite characters. I would love to see more of him, but it seems like he, as well as Suga, have kind of taken a back seat, and to represent the third years, Daiichi's there to like be the one so that we remember there's the 3 of them there.
Yeah, and I think also they took a bit of a backseat because we hadn't got anything about the second years. Like
right.
Season 4.
That's true.
Season 4, like 2 like highlight characters for me, 2 of my literal favorites, didn't get their backstory until season 4.
Right.
So I don't know. I think there was I feel like Aussie specifically left a little bit to desired, because I felt like Suga, because he wasn't on all the time, when he did come on, he still performed and did his job and inspired the team.
Yeah, it was a Mr. Refreshing.
I didn't feel like Aussie was as like inspiring or like
he was there on the court like most of the time. He was pretty much always there. Well, not as much as Tanaka or in Daiichi. Like they were in Shiratorizawa, they're there like mainstays of the team. But Asahi's there all the time. It just feels like he's kind of like emotionally there isn't much beyond what we've seen. So which is it's whatever. There's a lot of characters and we're meeting other teams and learning about them. So it's okay. Not everyone doesn't have to have like pages of backstory. I'm just saying I really liked Asahi. And that's it. Do you want what
were you gonna say?
I was gonna say if you're gonna do questions, can you like read them out so that we can?
I know. I was at first I was just going through the basic ones that were asked by like many people. Okay. The last one of that would be favorite character from a different team. Because we sort of going to that, but then we went through the entire cross.
Ushiwaka for me.
You think
easily.
So?
I mean, I feel cheap saying that because as far as like emotional substance, there's not a lot to him. He's a really strong adversary, but in terms of character, he's nothing. He doesn't have the varied expressions or the strong emotional connections to other characters, like say Oikawa, which is everybody's favorite other character. But if I had to pick one, I just think that like he adds so much to the story for me, of somebody who is just so driven and is left-handed, so he's like different. He mechanically he's super intense. He's always imposing whenever you see him. He just whenever I see him on screen, I know that there's going to be some shit going on. Like even if he just breaks through Hinata's thing. He's very earnest and he says the right thing and he gets to the point immediately without any preamble. He'll just get to the point. That's like in their match against Karasuno, the coach is about to call timeout because I forget, somebody like lost their confidence or something. Everybody's kind of losing their confidence, and then somebody fucked up, and it was like kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, and the coach is about to call timeout, and then he just turns to everyone. He's just like, I forget what he says specifically. He's just like, you're playing at the top. You're doing your best, right? You're actually trying. Well, then there's nothing to worry about because we're gonna win. That's just how it is. Because if you're doing your best, you're on the best team, and I'm on the best team, and we're all the best. So that's just how it is. Like the confidence is so inspiring and intimidating. He's the perfect like obstacle villain type guy for me. But like I said, I do feel kind of there's a part of me that feels like kind of cheap saying that because
who are your other like top three?
I'm trying to think. I guess I really like Oikawa, but I'm not as attached to him as everyone else seems to be. Probably because I'm not a woman. But yeah, I don't know. What about you?
I feel like I like a lot of them, but I feel
Shinsuke. Easy. He's awesome.
Shinsuke is really awesome. He just came in that one episode and just stole the show.
Yeah.
And had such a great thing. And what I really liked about him, I feel like honestly I really like, because we have so many characters who just love it and want to pursue it for the rest of their life on Karasuno, I feel like players on other teams that like know that it's not their future, like he has no illusions, he doesn't want to play it after high school, but wants to make the most of it at that time and is really giving it his all. And I feel like that was like really inspiring as well. And I felt the same thing. His name was Tendo, right? Yes. I think
Tendo's awesome.
I think he's probably my top favorite from entertainment value, from his relationship with Ushiwaka, from just his demeanor and personality, and like how intrigued he is by other people playing. But he also he's similar to that in that he doesn't want to keep, not necessarily that he doesn't want to, but he's not going to keep playing after high school. But he's had a good time and really, made the most of it, enjoyed playing while he was there.
Yeah.
And I really liked that he brought something new, like with his guest blocking, and was like flying around the way that he was animated. And I also like loved how him and Ushiwaka were always hanging out together.
Yes.
And their dynamic, because a lot of the schools have pairs, like the main two guys from this school, the main two guys from this school. But that one, to me, their relationship just seemed so real, especially when we got their backstory and they're like sitting in the cafeteria and they're both just like on the outside of things, and they kind of bond through that, and they're not the same. They're not, I don't know. It's just a very wholesome and very refreshing and very real, and they have the relationship that you think they're not like they're probably not talking about all their like deepest whatever their deepest emotions, and they're having all these crazy conversations. They're just hanging out and enjoying each other's company, and they understand each other on like a deeper level.
Yeah.
So they don't need to talk about it because they just know, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you had a really good insight when I forget what episode it was, but you had a good insight about like why they're friends is because like when we got Ushiwaka's thing about how he's left-handed, about how his family, who's like super traditional, were like he has to we need to train him out of that. You need to train him out of that. He uses his right hand, and then his dad's like the differences are what make us unique and strong, and his differences will make him formidable and, you know, grow up well. So, and you were like, oh, well, that's probably why he's friends with Tendo. I'm like, oh shit, that like blew my mind, because I'm like, that's literally exactly it. And I didn't see it. I just remember you had that, you said that, and it just struck me because it's so true. It's like there's not a weird. He's like he's literally Giga Chad, like. Like the captain of the volleyball team. Like he's
at the best volleyball school.
Like he is literally stereotypical jock guy outside looking in, even though when you get to know him, he's not, because he's just kind of emotionless. Or like from the outside, he definitely feels things. He definitely cares about what he's doing. But yeah, you wouldn't expect him to, when you see him sitting at the lunch table with Tendo, everyone's like, why are they hanging out? It's such a weird pair. But it's because based on what he really respects his dad, Ushiwaka does, and he's like, I know that, you know, the people who are different are like me. The people who are different, you know, are the ones that stand out and have something to offer. They're different for a reason. And for me, it's because I'm so different, and that's what made me so great. And now I'm so great at what I do because I love what I do, and because it brings me closer to my dad. And that makes me even more different than other people, and that's a good thing. Yeah. So why would people like bully somebody like Tendo? Why would I like bully somebody like Tendo if our differences are what make us unique and good and special? Yeah. So and that's such a great message, and it's again why I like Ushiwaka as well. But yeah, that their pair for me is always good. One thing I'll say, I think one character that I think is, other than Oikawa, which I don't think is actually overhyped.
I think Oikawa's good.
Who do you think I think is overhyped?
Kenma.
Yes.
Yeah.
How did you know? Have I said that?
I think he's overhyped.
I think he's way overhyped. I think that people
really like him that much.
I think people really like the sort of Lelouch, like, you know, that type of guy, the intellectual Hachiman-esque person. They relate to that because a lot of people watch anime or fucking otakus. They relate to another otaku who is really good at what they do, but are still quintessentially an otaku, like, gamer guy.
I do like him. I like his story. It's not that I don't like him. I really like him. I like that he's different from everyone else. I liked how cute he looked when Hinata did the receive. I like his relationship with Hinata. I like that he doesn't care as much as everyone else because we have so many people who love volleyball and care about volleyball. I love someone who's viewing it as a game, something to level up as, but at the same time, I feel it's overhyped. Yeah. But I don't feel like he's not a good character. I want to make that very clear. I do like him. I think he's a good character. I think his story is worth telling in the realm of Haikyuu. But he's not my favorite of the side characters.
But he's a lot of people's favorite. I don't know if that's manga people who like see what happens in season 5 or season 6 or whenever the garbage dump bout will be. It'll probably be season 5, and they know, like, they see more of him. But like, even Suki, like, I didn't super love Suki until he like became a person and like really let his emotions go and had that moment of like catharsis where he like, yes, I'm in it, dude. I don't see Kenma having that ever. I don't see him doing that because that's not who he is. He's a lot like Suki, where he's very in his head, he's very cerebral, he thinks about his moves, he thinks about what he says, and he's very meticulous. And but I feel like that's it, and people like him because they might relate to his lifestyle, and they think he's kind of cute because he's soft spoken. He's spat everywhere. He's
I like his
unlike me.
With Hinata, I don't know.
I like his relationship with Hinata a lot. I like them hanging out as awesome.
I like that they're good friends, and I like that Hinata, still loves and respects him as a friend and as a player.
And I like that, you know what it reminds me of? I love their relationship, but it reminds me of Mitsuki and Boruto.
It's nowhere near all.
No, it's not nearly as bad. It's not nearly as dumb as that. But like when Kenma talks about Hinata, he sounds like Mitsuki talking about Boruto, and I get that kind of vibe of like this weird, like, I get you guys have a connection and get you guys are really good friends, but the way you talk about this other kid like he's a messiah, or like he's like, and I get that that he's special and he's good and he has a lot to offer, but it feels sometimes can feel contrived, and I feel like people like the idea of Kenma more than what he actually brings to the story. I don't know.
I think we're gonna have to wait and see the next season, because I think when Kenma is in a national situation playing against his like number one inspiration and number one rival, I think that could take him to a new level. He might have that moment, maybe not quite as deeply as Suki, but I feel like that can really take it to the next level. I hope so. I think that in the Battle of the Garbage Dump is where we will see what everyone loves about Kenma.
Yeah.
I believe that, and I really hope so, because I want to know what the hype's about. I can like,
but I feel like a lot of people before, like, people have loved, I feel like Kenma's one of those characters that people have like loved forever. He's not, I don't think they started loving him when they read the manga. I feel like a lot of people like what he brings to just the anime, and I don't personally understand that, because I don't feel like he brings that much in comparison to even somebody like Oikawa, who I feel like brings a lot to the show.
Yeah.
But I still think is maybe a little bit overdone.
He's not my favorite.
I feel like people just think they thirst over him. I think they just think Kenma's really cute. I think that's it. I think it's a lot of the female fan base thinks that he's a really cute boy, and they like to ship him with Kuro, which, I'm not going to say about that. I was going to shit on people who ship, but I'm not going to do that, because I feel like I'm walking into your house and spitting in your face if I do that, because that's like most of the Haikyuu fan base. You could do what you want. That's not my thing, though. Mm-hmm. So do you have questions?
I do. We're going to start it off.
Read their name.
I am. I was going to say we're starting off strong with Mozart Waddle had a couple questions for us. One of them I really like is, Daichi's injury was a well-needed break in the whimsical yet competitive setting the show is known for. It ushered in reality. Sports, no matter how fun, always carries the risk of injury to some capacity. Would you both like to see more or less of this in future seasons?
I mean, I don't want you to bait us into saying that we want them all to get injured, because people will come after us. I want to see more of it. Of course I want to see more of it. Yeah. I want to see consequences where, as long as it doesn't sacrifice what we talked about earlier.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Obviously, I don't want everyone to get hurt so that they can't play, but I do think that, depending on how long the story goes for, you're going to, at some point, there may be some need to really shake up the story, and also explore that side of things, because quite often in sports, things can happen.
Pops up their knee and then they
can't play.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to die. They don't have to, have their daily life ruined. But a lot of times things do happen that then it becomes unsafe for them to do the thing that you love. And how do you reconcile that?
But yeah. Do you want that in Haikyuu?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying I think depending on how the story goes, that could be necessary. But part of what I like about Haikyuu is that it's not doing that, and that it's all positive, and everything has like a positive thing to it. Getting so injured that you can't keep playing your favorite sport, there's no positive outlook on that.
Yeah,
you can be like, oh well, good thing I can, still be alive, not doing the things that I love doing. I feel like it depends, and I really think it would depend on like where the story is going in other ways. Like if we win nationals, or if we don't win nationals, or if the third years leave, if they don't, I feel like other things can happen to add like dramatics to the story that don't necessarily involve a serious injury.
Yeah.
Because I think here and there we get, like, with Suki's finger, like, we've gotten, and Daichi, of course, like, smaller injuries that don't have lasting consequences, but have consequences in that game and that take it to the next level of, like, oh, Daichi's out for this game, we have to pull through. Or,
well, it was also a setup as well because, then we had Suki after that, and then we also had, so there were 2 in a row where, like, an injury almost took key players out of the game twice in a row on our team only.
Yeah.
And there was Nekoma as well.
Yeah,
with those stupid fucking barriers. I'll never let them go. They're the ultimate villain of this show. The only character that I don't find wholesome and cool are the barriers. But then we had before Nekoma, we had Hinata catching it on the chin.
Right.
Because if he caught it in the face, he would bleed and then he'd be taken out. So, but there was a significant fear there when it happened because it was set up based on those 2 other injuries. I don't know if I want it. Like I when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, that'd be awesome. More consequences, because that's kind of the instinct whenever you talk about shows. But based on the conversation we had earlier in the discussion, I don't know if I do. I'm not 100% sure. And I think not knowing what I want is also really refreshing too, because not being able to set expectations based on my own preference, being able to base my expectations based on my preferences, is refreshing. Because often in shows, it's very easy to be like, I want more consequences. I want more death. I want more lasting things. This character needs to get his hand cut off, and that'll be like crazy. But in this, I don't know. Because we just had that whole conversation about how it's positive, about how it's always about growth. And so I don't know. I don't know if I do.
And I do kind of like,
I'd be open to it, I guess.
I feel like so many shows deal with stuff like that, whether it's in other types of shows like actual death or like tragedy. I feel like it's kind of refreshing to have an engaging and interesting show that doesn't need to go that far. You don't need to devastate the viewers to have a good show, you know? And I think...
Well, what happened with Kyoko? Didn't she get injured?
She did.
Hurdling?
Yes.
So that gives you a little taste of it right there, where she had a promising future in hurdles and in track.
That's true.
But she got injured and now she can't do it. So that's a bit of the tragedy right there. So they do kind of deal with it. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm
not sure really what I want. But I think I could be fine either way as long as it like was done well. I wouldn't want it just for the sake of having it. Well,
that's a given. You don't want a shitty version of anything in the show. Thanks for the question, Mozart Waddle.
I think there was another one from him as well. Yeah, that one might have been a bit somber. So, what's your take? Haruchi Furudate establishing romantic interest between a few characters, but never allowing it to take the lead in the story that he's presenting.
I think it's awesome. It's awesome because it's not a romance. But sorry, you go ahead.
I really like it, but I also wouldn't mind if, say, one of the characters got into a relationship, as long as it didn't take over anything.
That's why I like Daichi's relationship a lot with his
I do
girl.
like that, and I like, because with Tanaka and the girl from the other school, it kind of got shut down. It was like focused on a little bit, but then got shut down, and it's not going anywhere. But I do like with Daichi and the coach, not the coach, the captain on the girls' team. It seems like there's definitely something there, but we don't need to focus on it. We can see it and see the cute moments and see the interactions between the characters. But
I like feeling that it's there because when we see like, all the classrooms are like watching the game and she's sitting there like Sakura, like this with the prayer hands and like closing her eyes, like she's super stressed out. And when he pulls out the victory charm, that was a powerful moment, and like that made it all the more worth it. And it felt like Daichi could be the star if this was a more classic like if it was a real life American like high school football type story, he would be the main character and he would like get the girl in the end, and he and his friends get to move on to nationals or whatever, have a chance at a better future or whatever. I like it. I like the amount of romance that's there. I'm not sure how I feel about Yachi And Hinata, I'm not 100% if that one feels kind of shoehorned in, but I'm not convinced that I feel that way yet.
That one was actually the example in that question. I think I don't mind that one. I think it could be cute depending on
the example of a good
no, just
romance?
the example of a romance in Haikyuu. I think I kind of like it. I would almost prefer if they stayed friends though. Like
it seems
don't know.
very obvious that there's going to be a romantic
I know,
connection. But I don't know if I want to see Hinata be I don't know if I want to see Hinata in a romance.
That's what I'm saying.
And I don't think the fans do either, because they don't want Hinata to be straight. How are you going to ship him with all the boys if he's canonically a straight guy? And I think the author probably figured that out after introducing Yachi.
I think the thing is, I think it's okay if there I think it's okay because it's not portrayed in the same way as with Daichi and the other girl.
No.
It doesn't have like any seriousness to it. It seems like maybe, like a little bit of crushing going on, but it's not super relevant and it doesn't take a hold over all of their interactions. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I do like it, and I do like that it exists because it makes it like sort of a tie to the real world, and that they are just high school guys playing sports. They're not in a weird bubble where volleyball is the only thing to exist, and they don't have any friends or any, they're not capable of feelings towards other people or, desires to have a romantic relationship for someone else. So I feel like it adds a little bit on the side, but I'm glad that it doesn't take over everything.
Same, because I don't want it to be a drama. I don't want there to be romantic
in this thing.
Yeah.
Other than with Tanaka and the other girl, that was interesting because it showed Tanaka's character and was a way to get his backstory and to like reaffirm who he is as a guy and as a volleyball player. I think that was really cool. And to see it from I also like to see it from an outside perspective, especially in season 4, where we were getting the perspective of so many people from other teams constantly. We were constantly flashing to the guy from the snake school. We were constantly, talking to this person over here. So for her to be watching the game expressly viewing one player and, her backstory, she knew him before and stuff like that, I feel like it really brought something. Mm-hmm. It really brought something to the show and the perspective that we were viewing it towards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. From Washington, who do you think are the best written characters in the whole show? When did you realize Haikyuu was the real deal and not just some sports anime?
I think we realized it in the first 6 episodes that it was something special and not boring. My initial impression of Haikyuu was based on my friend in film school who invited me to watch it, and he was like, yeah, I'm like a few episodes in, I'm like halfway through the first season, and it's all right, it's kind of boring. And I was like, kind of what I expected, it just doesn't seem like my cup of tea. So I was pleasantly surprised when that was not the case. Mm-hmm. And as far as like best written but yeah, very early we discovered it in like maybe the first practice match. I think with the Asahi thing is when, which was I think episode 6 or 7,
sort of took it to the next level.
Yeah. And best written characters, the best written character,
it's hard because
it's not that hard. I have someone in my head, but I don't know if they're actually the best or if they're just hyped up by the fan base. I'm thinking of Oikawa, but I don't know if he's actually the best or if he's just way more focused on and everyone's thirsting over him and gives him more credit than he's worth.
I think he's
because he is kind of the Vegeta.
I do also.
I know I said that was Kageyama, but like the main rival of the main team, the captain of the main rival.
I think Suki's really well written as well because
yes,
even though it's like obvious that he's gonna come around, he like kind of struck the perfect balance of like being an asshole but still being good at his job and being unenthusiastic but like still going towards it. And then the payoff of him, having that moment was so satisfying.
I think it's the 3 best written characters are Oikawa, Tsuki, and Hinata. I think if I had to pick 3. I also really
like Kageyama though, and it's good because his whole thing with being the king and then eventually coming around to be like the king in a good way, that was really great. And I feel like we haven't talked too much about Kageyama so far, but I think he is maybe actually one of the best written characters because he didn't have to change. Like, it took a long time to change. He, like, fell back a lot sometimes and, like, fell back into old habits. He overcompensated. He took a long time to figure out where he was going, which is really realistic because not everyone is going to have a moment like Suki where, oh, suddenly now I understand what it's all about and I'm like a new person.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will have that, but like Kaguya, it took work and it took dedication and it took having a team of people who believed in him and wanted to support him and really see him get to where they all knew that he could be.
Mm-hmm. I actually agree. I really personally relate to Kageyama a lot, but the characters that I like the most, and even in my favorite things, like I remember even when I was reading Berserk, I was most interested in Griffith, not because I'm a lot like Griffith. I'm a lot like Judo or Guts, if I had to pick one character that I'm like I relate to more. But I relate a lot, or I focus a lot more on characters that there's like something about them that I really admire. So like ambition in the case of Griffith and like confidence and stuff like that, I really admire stuff like that in characters. So I focus on them a lot more. But at Kageyama, I relate a lot to like feeling like I care about something a lot more than other people around me. But really, it's just I'm blinding myself and I just am hyper-focused on myself and I'm not actually even thinking about other people. That's where Kageyama, and I really relate to that in his struggle of like being an asshole, but like learning how to, and like I talk a lot about stream whenever I get a little bit personal. I talk about like, I'm naturally kind of a douchebag. I'm naturally just an asshole. I have a bad temper. I don't really read the room very well. I'm a loner. And I'm not a good team player. And there's a difficult balance to strike in life of being yourself and being confident in your own skin, but also working on yourself. Because you can't just say, I'm the best, I'm awesome, there's no room for improvement, I'm going to live my best life and everyone else can go fuck themselves. That's not how life works, because you have to constantly evolve and work on yourself. Everybody has flaws. There's no, you can't be perfect. And you shouldn't beat yourself up too much and like think that you should compromise what you really believe. But the balance is really hard to strike, especially when you're that intense and have a temper and are prone to being kind of selfish, which describes Kageyama and me. But you know, yeah, I really relate to that. I think Kageyama is a great written character, and I really like that he's gone through both like many different parts of that journey where he starts off and he's so pissed off and frustrated at everybody around him. Then he gets a taste of what it's like to like actually have somebody who can meet him there and is competing. And then he like has to check himself and slows down. But then he's like, then he meets Asumu, who is like, you're goody two shoes. You're not being, you're compromising yourself. Yeah. You're not doing your best because you think it's what other people want. And that's a thing that you can run in real life if you're anything like Kageyama. It's like there's a line between like being kind and like working to please other people. So like you still have to be yourself, but you have to find a way to be yourself in a way that doesn't like ruin everybody else's fun. Yeah. And it's a constant balance that he has to strike. And the way that he maneuvers through that is really interesting to watch. I think he's probably top 3. I'd say he's probably better written than Hinata, but the reason I would put Hinata in like my top 3 like best written characters, Oikawa, I think I don't really need to go into that. There's so much everyone's talked about why he's very well thought out and well written. But the reason I would argue for Hinata is because of all the reasons that we talked about for like the last hour. Is about how he's the heart of the show, about how he says so much about pursuing something that you love with an intrinsic sense of value, not for any sort of gain, not for any sort of, but Suki obviously explores that as well when he has his moment in season 3. So it's hard to say. I'd say, probably Kageyama,
and I think
Oikawa,
Hinata gets up to the top. I think Hinata is like I said, he's not the best in this show, but as the main character of a shonen, he is like superbly written and really like lends itself to this
He's
story.
less of a character. Like he The thing about Hinata, and I guess you could see this as a plus or a minus in this category of like, he's less of a character on his own. He's very directly tied to like the themes of the overall story.
That's what I was gonna say. Hinata is like Haikyuu.
The message, yes.
He's the point of the show. So I do feel like the other characters have a little bit more to him. Not that Hinata is not good.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah, I agree.
I think we're on the same page.
Zai, I don't know, XAI. What are your opinions on our managers, Kyoko and Yachi? Being a member of the team without being one of the players or coaches puts them in a unique supportive position. What are your takes on their roles and how they're handling them?
I feel like the show could do better about showing their usefulness in game, because in timeouts we rarely see them like hand a clipboard to the coach like with a list of all the different plays that were made, like a breakdown, an analytical breakdown of like how they're playing, which I think is their point. They're supposed to record like this person scored this point, this person scored,
which we didn't even find out till like in
I
season
knew that
4.
because I feel like I knew that from something else. It was from a different sport thing that I watched at some point, like a different movie or something, that's their job. That's like the manager's job, is they take tally of all that so that you could use that data in the game and somebody's taking notes of the other team and how they're scoring, you know, who's serving and who ended up getting the point, how many times the balls went back and forth.
The ball keeps falling in this one spot.
Yeah.
What do we need to do to...
Exactly. So then you can counter, and that's where the strategy comes in. And I feel like that wasn't focused on enough. Again, like I said, when I was talking about season 3 and Asahi, it's hard for me to point that as a criticism because the show was executed so well. It's just that if we're talking about the topic of managers, I feel like their purpose on the team was not overtly communicated enough early on or throughout, because it seemed like they were there and cheering them on, and like, but Kyoko like followed Tsuki to the nurse's office, and he got patched up, and she was just kind of there, and she ran back with him, looking super badass. I like them. I feel like we didn't get enough of them, but I also like we got a perfect balance of so many different things in Haikyuu, so it's hard to say.
We don't need more of them, but I feel like I don't have enough on them to like really deep dive into it. I think.
I really loved Yachi and her graphic design arc. That was cool. A super underrated part of the story at the start of season 2. Great introduction for her. Great, you know, one of the only times other than with Old Man Ukai that we actually talk about parents.
Yeah.
Like we don't we had a big conversation when that episode was coming out about like how like real life stressors, parental relationships are often really complicated and would take away from a lot of the things. But that's a situation where it was tackled in a way that like it's a side character's parent, so we don't have to establish like what Hinata's parents are like early on, and then that conflicts.
And she's
with,
not a player, so it's not like, oh, why isn't she at the games? Blah blah blah.
Yeah, so it's a safer way to tackle the thing of like, I want to do something. My parents want me to find my own path. I want to do this, but I'm not really sure about it. I'm not confident. And the parents like not communicating what they want the kid to do. What they want the kid to do is to go for the thing. If you love it so much, go for it. Don't wait for me to tell you what to do. If I have to convince
you into it.
Yeah, and it's a common thing in hero's journey type things. It's like the elephant graveyard in The Lion King. It's like, why is there like a boundary to the kingdom, and like why don't we go there? You say that we're not supposed to go there. You you could do anything you want. This is all your kingdom, but you don't go there. It's this forbidden thing of like, it's also kind of a challenge, and that's that all that shit is what that kind of arc goes over, and I like that. I liked that as an introduction for Yachi.
Yeah,
for sure.
I want to go back to the last part of Washington's thing that I accidentally skipped over, but it goes with this. It's who is your favorite side character that is not a volleyball player? Old
Man Ukai, or just Coach Ukai. Yeah, I like the team. I like Sensei. But he has a little bit of my problem with Kinoshita, where the tag of Kinoshita is like visualized this many times, whatever. With Sensei, I like whenever he has a crazy speech, it's awesome. But his whole thing is like these philosophical speeches because he's not a player.
Yeah, and he doesn't really know about volleyball, so he's just there for kind of moral support.
I like it, but
and he really fights for them, which I do like.
He's the MVP low key because without him, none of this would happen.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get much of him at all in season 3 and 4, like at all. I don't think we heard him speak a word in season 4. Which is disappointing because I do like him. I think that he was they played him a bit too strong of like, this is his purpose in the story. Mm-hmm. This is what he does. I really like him though. Saiko's good, but if I had to pick one, I think I would probably just Coach Yukai. He's awesome. I like Washijo Sensei.
Yeah. I feel like I don't know, a lot of the side characters are good. I did also like the manager girl from that other team. I can't remember what team. But when she like really inspired them all and like told them she said she was going to kick their ass or something like that.
Yeah.
That was really good. And I really like that because they brought in like, oh, this other team has a girl manager too. And then she really like inspired them in that moment. That was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked her too.
I feel like a lot of the side characters, they're like genuine side characters. They're not made to be anything more, but you get just enough that you feel like you get a sense of them.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, what about you? Do you have a favorite one?
I really like Coach Ukai, I think he's really good. I really like getting more of Kyoko's backstory, how she used to do track and how now she's like helping other people succeed in sports. Mm-hmm. And that like how she can't do it for herself anymore.
What about Hinata's little sister?
Hinata's little sister is cute.
She's awesome.
And yeah, what's her Tanaka's sister? Psycho, yeah. I really like her as well. She's awesome. I also love the two guys that are always
those are awesome. I forget their names. The cheer
squad for Karasuno is next level, and I love them. I love them so much.
The show would be not as good if they were gone. Mm-hmm. Like you can't. I guess you can't really say that for many of the side characters. Like you could take them or leave them. They're really good, but like if they were not in the show would still be really good.
Yeah.
I feel like if they weren't in the show would be like 10% worse. It would just like they add so much with the commentary and with like their enthusiasm for it and being like an adult figures, a supportive adult figures in these like high schoolers' lives. It's just cool and gives a sense of community.
I think it adds the community, and if they don't want to add parents into the story, they're not going to have parents at the games. They have family members or like alumni coming there and cheering them on.
I really like those guys.
And it adds a familiar face in the crowd.
Which is important.
So that and I also really liked, speaking of faces in the crowd, that freaking random old man who was just the hater.
He's awesome.
He was so good, and they just made him so awesome. And he was just an asshole.
He was great.
He's just sitting in the crowd being like, and it's just like, it's so
He just randomly knows this, like, he looks like a trucker. Like, but he randomly knows way more than you would expect about high school volleyball and the history and like all.
And they're just like, oh yeah, that guy, he's here all the time.
He plays fantasy volleyball and he's got like all their faces on like the more I say about it is weird, on like a whiteboard at home with like connecting threads or something. This is weird. This analogy is weird, but I just picture he's like he cares and cares. It's cool and it's fun.
Yeah, he's like no one else there is like this, but he's like for like American college football where they just where like the civilians of the town get so invested in like school sports.
Yeah. And speaking of side characters, that's like a great like similar how we were talking about Dotako, like being a tracker of their progress. That's something that I always love to see. Even in Naruto, like when he like starts to win over everybody and like the group of people who like believes in him like grows, seeing that in a real life setting in Haikyuu is it's very rewarding. It's very rewarding to see like there's their school's got this reputation. They used to be good, but they're kind of shit. Nobody really expects anything from them. Half the vice principal doesn't even know anything about volleyball. And then by when season 3 comes around, it's like such an event and everybody's so worked up and it's like they come so far.
Flailing his wig around.
The school is like partying. They come back to school. Everybody's freaking out about how awesome they are. And they're like, wow, I didn't know you guys were like so cool. Like that was insane.
Yeah.
That is such a rewarding thing. And that's the side characters in general. Like having that sense of community is really strong.
Yeah.
It's especially in a sports thing. Because like if you, I don't know, I wasn't around like the hockey team in high school or anything. Like I wasn't friends with a lot of those guys, but just like I would always like look at them and the girls volleyball team and stuff like that. They just the sense of like it's a big thing in Haikyuu in general, but like the sense of like they have people supporting them and like people are propping them up and it's like this community thing and everybody cares and they like, you know, just having something that everybody collectively comes together and cares about is always wholesome no matter what it is. So it's a big part of, for me, why it's very inspiring. It's the side characters.
I really like them, and I like that there's lots of them, so we can see different perspectives on everything, and they don't have to stick around. We can never see them again. Like, I doubt we're ever going to see the girl coach for, I can't remember.
Jozenshi.
Yeah, I doubt we're going to see her again, but I remember her, and I liked seeing her, and I'm glad she was there.
Same.
It's cool. This is from Silver. I feel like we kind of already went.
Silver?
Yeah.
Their name is just Silver?
Yes.
Can I see? Okay, not the Silver I thought.
Which main antagonist rival do you prefer? Oikawa, Ushijima, or Atsumu? We kind of went over that with
Ushiwaka,
but we didn't really talk about Atsumu very much so far. And I definitely feel like he was the weakest.
Same.
But I did like their teams against each other because it was the team that was most similar to Kurosano. I think that is what was kind of brought out of that match. I don't think he's as much of a rival, but he is a second year. So Oikawa and Ushijima,
there's still time.
They're leaving. We're not going to see them again. So the fact that he can stay around and we can play him again, I think adds a little bit to his
the
rivalry
story's not
and
over.
leaves
It's like,
room for growth and improvement.
It would be like if we only got one of the Seijo matches. Like we only have like half or one measure of the story at this point, so we haven't the book's not closed on them, but they don't have enough build up before we beat them. They didn't have enough build up. That's the difference between someone like Oikawa and Atsumu, is like they're both badass setters, they're both like big rivals, but like Seijo, we lost. We played them early. They were our first practice game. They took a chance on us that we would be worth playing against. In season 1, they were like the one, or I guess Nekomo's first, weren't they? I forget. One of they were like one of our first practice matches, and we managed to play them, and it was a big deal. And it set it planted the seed that would bloom 2 seasons later, 50 episodes later, we finally, or 40 something episodes later, we get the catharsis on that, and then Oikawa is graduating. But I just feel like it's not fair to compare, because this might just be the start of this story with them. But maybe it's just because I loved season 3 and I got so hyped for season 3, and I think Ushiwaka is so fucking cool. I also admit that Oikawa and that whole thing is like a better rivalry. It's just that I just love the hype that was built up and then fully delivered on with Ushiwaka.
One thing that I do like about Atsumu is that it showed hope for Hinata outside of Kageyama. Someone else who could can do a freak quick.
And that's what I like, is it's huge. A setup.
It's
so
a
if
setup.
We haven't got the setup so far, that's fine, but we'll get it.
Because with whatever, I can't remember the guy who looks like a seagull.
I can't remember him.
But he is like hope for Kageyama outside of Hinata, someone who can like do free quick, also an inspiration for Hinata of a new rivalry.
Yeah.
And then we have Atsumu, who shows like the free quick can be done, and there are people who are way better than him out there. There are so many more people to play who can do crazy shit that you've never even thought about.
Yeah.
So I think that that match was just really about setting stuff up.
Yeah.
Kind of broadening the world. Like, now you're at nationals and look what's out there. It's nice. I like it.
I agree.
And set from the same person, which character had you instantly hooked upon first meeting?
Ushiwaka.
I think so.
Not Noya, because Noya sorry, go ahead.
I think Noya was not bad. When you first...
But the first time we met Noya, he like came in while Kageyama and Hinata were practicing, and then he like jumped in and like received the ball, and then we didn't see him till the next episode. But I wasn't instantly, as soon as we saw him, like, oh shit. As soon as we saw Ushiwaka pull up at when they were going for a run together, I was instantly, I mean, we already heard about him before. It's not really a fair comparison. But as soon as we saw him on screen, and as soon as he talked, I was like, holy shit, this guy is serious business.
Yeah.
We go back to his school, they're playing college students. This is crazy. Look at their gym. But who do we like as soon as we saw them? Do you have anybody other than those two?
I think I like Tendo right away, just because he was very chaotic and very, like, just the character design as well. Like, he just looked, immediately you knew this guy was different.
Yeah.
He was not playing the same game as everyone else. I think he was, like, very intrigued immediately upon seeing it, and he, like, the way he, like, you know, flung himself around like that. Yeah, I think Tendo for me was maybe like the most instantaneous, like, because he's just very expressive.
He adds a lot of flavor because like we meet Ushiwaka and then we're like, what's the rest of his team?
Yeah,
like?
especially
and then he
the rest
shows
of
up
his
and you're just like, what the hell is this guy about? Like,
and I can't remember if Bokuto was very like if I liked him right away or not, because he's also very like, you know.
I liked him right away, but I didn't love him right away.
Yeah, he took a while to grow on me, and sometimes I'm still like, okay,
but that's part of his character,
in a playful
though.
way. Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, I think Tendo was like the most immediate, and Ushiwaka, but we had already heard about him previously.
I mean, Hinata too. Like
Hinata as well.
The intro, the first episode of Haikyuu, just thinking back on it, is such a good start. Like, how they cinematically show him,
yeah,
like,
they do like so much in that first episode to like you're
very
just
cinematically. They
right
take
away.
you through like his graduation and the cherry blossoms, and everything. Then he bikes away. Like, I remember the way they like kind of fade through all those scenes was really good, and the way they show him like he's like taking pictures with the adult women's like volleyball team in the town, like at the community center that he would go play with, and playing volleyball in the corner while all the other kids are playing basketball on the court and everything. And just that is instantly very likable, and his passion immediately is very gripping.
Yeah. And last question from Silver would be the most epic or shocking moment during a match. I feel like
Nishinoya's double receive.
That was good, or Hinata's receive. That was really good. That was like crazy. But you saw it coming.
It was set up. I mean, I didn't see it. I didn't expect it to happen when it was happening. Yeah. But it was set up over time. The thing about I like about Nishinoya's double receive is it's like it was completely out of Hinata scoring the point with that random block. That was insanity.
Yeah, that was crazy.
It was such a fluke, but it was so cool.
There's so many moments.
Daichi dying. What else?
I feel like there was like more.
Think of one.
I said Hinata's receive.
Yeah, but we just talked about it. Think about something else. I just brought up like 3 examples.
Yeah, you took all the good ones.
There are other examples. Unexpected, surprising moments.
Oh, when the freaking twins did their quick, that was pretty crazy.
Oh, yeah.
But I do feel like because it was in season 4, it was a little bit undersold.
It was very undersold. Same with the second one. When they switched
and did it again,
but backwards. Yeah. The other one set, and then the other one spiked it. A lot of people in that episode just went up, and I was like looking in the comments, and people are like, "Yeah, why does nobody like recognize that was like super badass?" I'm like, because the show is not highlighting it like it's badass. Like every other crazy moment, the show gave it its due. This time they just couldn't, and that's just how it is.
The best one was when they won, when Hinata and Kageyama blocked together.
Yes,
because they were the only ones fast enough to like keep up with that quick.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's got to be. I mean, like that was so good.
It was very, very nice, and the fact that they won with defense was really well set up.
Yeah, we
and
talked
satisfying.
about that, like, and then, but yeah, just the way they won that match was so satisfying.
Indeed.
Satisfying.
Your hair is blocking the entire shirt.
Satisfying. I really loved that.
I agree. I agree. That was a great... Yeah, because I fully thought that they were going to lose, so I'd say that was a surprise.
From Emiliano asked, what would you guys consider the 3 best matches in the series up till the point the anime is at?
Shiro Torizawa and the 2 Seijo matches. End of discussion. Those are the best.
Yeah. I think the only reason...
It's not even close. It's not even close for me.
I think that I would have... I don't know. I feel like some of them... Yeah, I think you're right.
It's not even close.
I think they're so
good. Those are the matches of the show. A lot of people, I think the point of this question, to get to the heart of this, the point of this question is to say whether we liked the Inarizaki match more, like where that fits in, I think that's the real question, is where it stack ranks in those of these 4 main matches.
Yeah.
Where does that stack rank? If we're talking about not main matches, I think that's an interesting discussion. But it's not even a competition, because those are the highlighted ones where everything, the whole arc is written towards those matches of each of those respective arcs. So with that in mind, I think we've talked about it endlessly. It's Inarizaki didn't get its due. It wasn't made with the same care and budget, frankly, as the previous things. I would have loved to see. My opinion well, I'm not going to say definitely would be different, but it would likely be different if it had been given the same treatment as Shiro Torizawa or as Seijo round 1 or 2. If we're talking about lower level games of practice matches and stuff like that, and like in the spring tournament or whatever, lower level games, I remember really liking the one, was it Wakunan? Is that the pink uniforms? I forget. With the one guy who was like a surprisingly excellent player on a team full of people who were not as invested or not as skilled. Like he was outpacing. Like if he was on Krasno, he'd be like one of the best players. I forget. He was like the captain of that team. Yeah. He had like shaven head. He looked kind of like Hinata, but was a little bit taller. Or maybe it wasn't shaved. Maybe it was just short hair. Either way, he made a real impression on me. I can't remember his name right now. That was awesome. What other ones? What about you? Any lower level games that you can remember?
Not full games, but I did like the underhand serve guy. Like that game wasn't one of my favorites, but the underhand serve with and being in the bigger gym, I feel like it really like changed it up from previous ones, because at that point we had seen so many games that you kind of knew we were going to win. Yeah. And like just adding a different dynamic, a different technique that we hadn't seen before was kind of cool. Yeah, against the pink team was a good one. And I also I kind of wish that the land versus air stuff I felt like that one, I felt like I would have liked it a bit more if it had a bit more care, a little bit more intensity in the production of it. Yeah,
because the problem with Land vs. Air is that they spoil that. I think, if I'm right, I may be misremembering, but I think they, at the end of season 3, we already know that they're moving on, right? Like our two teams that we know and love are already moving on. So it's all about what is the spectacle of this match? What is the enemy team that they're facing like? Because we know that they're going to win.
And until that one guy gets injured, the stakes are kind of low.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, then you get into it because
then you really need like a good treatment for that. They needed to like goose it up and like way more crazy animation or like lightning pacing, a really different and badass soundtrack. And I don't feel like they went far enough to compensate for the fact that they already kind of spoiled it, you know?
I think,
and there just wasn't enough time. Like we talked about that as well. It's like 2 OVAs for 2 like possibly monumental games, like with a lot going on, and there just wasn't enough time. They needed 2 episodes each minimum.
I also really liked. Was it the first game that we played in a tournament where they were like, "Oh, finally, we're going up against a team that's not good," because they had gone up against
Daichi's buddy from middle school.
I can't remember.
That's one of my favorites.
They had gone up against I don't know if they were first against Shiratorizawa the year before, or they were against a good school.
I think they were against Seijo or Dotiko.
I can't remember, but they just got like destroyed.
They got smoked.
So they were like, finally, this year we have a chance because we're not against literally the best school that's going to beat everyone else. And they were so excited. So to them, even though Karasuno's in the same position, it was like, oh, good. We can at least win one game this tournament, but you felt so much for them because they wanted it, but they just weren't good enough.
Yeah.
They weren't good enough.
They just weren't. And the fact that, that might be my favorite game.
And tying it into the Karasuno girls as well, how they were in the same position of they just didn't try hard enough.
Right. Exactly. The girls really highlighted that too. And I like that we got the girls' perspective early on. We didn't get much of it throughout. Which is whatever, the story like ramped up like crazy,
but it fit really well into that moment.
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I forgot about that one. That's a great match. I think I loved how they dealt with the pain of loss in a real way because it was like Daiichi's best friend from middle school, and like it gave us some more insight into Daiichi's past and everything, and made us more attached to him
because it was him, and then also like the captain of the girls team. Like, it was very Daiichi, like, people that he knew and cared about.
Well, I just remember Daiichi, like, when they lost their middle school game, Daiichi's like, all right, guys, great game. All right, let's go back and practice, whatever. We'll get him next time. We have to. And then they're all like, yeah. And then the one guy looks behind and Daiichi's, like, crying in the corner because he's just so destroyed. That, like, there's so many like super emotional moments in that. I forgot about that one. That's legitimate. That's probably my favorite like lower level one that wasn't like one of the main series.
Just because the emotional impact it had, and
it was lasting,
and it showed us what would happen to us if we like how we would feel if we lost.
I cared, and when they saw each other in the hallway after, and he's like, "You have to beat Seijo for us. You have to go on," and. Yeah. It
wasn't as low of a level, but I feel like with Dotiko when they won and then Hinata and whatever his name is, they're like, they have their own like weird like super respectful rivalry / friendship, but they're not like friends, but they're like, yes, you know? I really like that.
That was a good one too.
That was good. There's almost all of them are so good.
They all have something to them, but if I had to pick one, that's my favorite one.
So from Harsh, if you had to join a team other than Karasuno, which team would it be and why?
I mean, what am I a good player? Like, I don't want to be a bench warmer on Shiratorizawa because I'm not as good.
Assuming that you could play volleyball.
Assuming I'm like
really
good.
Let's
like
say,
it's I don't.
No, okay, I'll set the standards. Assuming
am I Tanaka level?
Assuming you are good enough to fit in on any of the team, you're at the level of whatever team, just based on what people you would want to play with the most, I think.
Not Karasuno.
Not Karasuno. Because that's the obvious choice, because everyone there is so great.
Maybe even Inarizaki.
I know, I was kind of thinking the same thing, because they...
Maybe it's just recency bias. I was going to say maybe Seijo, but probably
I like
Inarizaki.
them because they weren't as structured. They were more like Karasuno in the fact that they were trying new things and, like, you know... bouncing all over the place.
Well, you can't pick Karasuno. I pick Nega Karasuno, which is like the dark version of Karasuno. Yeah. That's it.
I think I wouldn't want to go on Nekoma just because I don't like the defensive strategy as much. I feel like
I like it.
I'd like it okay, but
I would maybe choose Nekoma.
I feel like I wouldn't want to go on whatever Bokuto's team because I wouldn't want to have to deal with him all the time.
Kurogane? Yeah, I definitely would.
Seijo maybe would be a good one. I think it could be a good one because, like, you know, they were doing all right. They were a solid team. They were a solid team
because of Oikawa. They had a dry
you'd be
year.
on the team with Oikawa.
Right, but if I'm like the level of the team, I wouldn't be the level of Oikawa.
That's true.
Say we're the average, like a good average player. On the
honestly,
team.
Shiratorizawa wouldn't be that bad of a team to be on.
That's true.
Because
I like all the guys on there.
If you were good, like the coach let people, like with Tendo, he just let him do what he wanted as long as he was producing results. They did, even though it seemed like they would be, like you had to practice, you had to be good, but you could kind of do it in your own way if
as
you
long
were
as you
strong.
performed. Yeah.
And I did like all the personalities from that team. I felt like they were.
I feel like I would. Same. If I had to pick one, I might pick Nekoma, honestly, because I like all the guys
on that
there.
team are more.
They're
chill.
all fun.
I feel like I wouldn't. I feel like, yeah. I said that I
would like
pick
going
them.
if I was in.
I said that I wouldn't pick them, but I would like to hang out with them, so maybe I would pick them.
If I was in their high school, going to school with them and like hanging out with them, I think I would have a good time. And I could say that more sure with them than with the other teams.
Mm-hmm. I think that's true.
Probably Nekoma for me. Because you want to pick one of the best teams. You're not going to pick Dotiko.
No.
I wouldn't pick Dotiko. Not because they're necessarily terrible, but it's like they're not a terrible team, one of the worst possible choices. It's just if I had to pick one, I would want to pick like one of the better like top tier teams.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this one I like from Chase Martin. We already kind of talked about his first two questions, but the last one, what's your favorite team like slogan or banner or and theme? And I think someone else, not in this one, but someone else had also asked like your favorite uniforms. Like what
about you?
I think I really like the simplicity of Fly.
I like that banner.
I really like that banner. I think it's cool. I also do like We Don't Need the Memories.
I think that's my favorite.
I think that one's super badass.
It's a challenge.
It's a challenge. I do like Fly though because it's an inspiration and like a dream.
I would wear the Fly banner as a t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't wear We Don't Need the Memories. It's like seems a little bit too long. Like if I was just like if it was just like Fly. It's kind of cool and like in the style of the banner and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think it's just more fashionable.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what is Shiro Torizawa's banner. I forget what it is. It probably wasn't that good if I forgot.
Yeah, I think it was like something about
like
something.
Strength rules all, domination, some shit. One guy is better than your whole team.
I'm trying to remember.
Is better than every team in the prefecture.
I know that there was a team with uniforms that I really liked, but I can't remember it right now.
Great podcast.
No, I think I did. The Underhand Serve Guys team, I like the like blue and yellow. That was kind of nice.
Yes,
that was a little bit
different.
And I genuinely really like Cross and Nose. They're normal ones. I don't like the orange ones as much.
Same. I like the dark navy and the blue.
And Shiro Torizawa's is good. Actually,
I like Shiro Torizawa. I really like the pink. It as a powerful like one of the. Yeah, like you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like
it's also good.
As a powerful
it's also
team.
Good theming because purple is like associated with like royalty and stuff.
Right.
So if they're like the like king in like the first in their prefecture or whatever, then it really suits them and really establishes them as being very powerful.
Right. I agree.
I think that's kind of cool. I just think
it's really. I think it's a really bold color for like the really strong people, like for like the giant Giga Chad guy to walk in wearing like a more feminine looking color. It's like it's a striking kind of image. I think.
Yeah. Cosmix asked top 5 team cheers. You can make it shorter of a list if you can't put 5.
I feel like this is just Carson fanboys about Shiro Torizawa, the video. But seriously, when we went from like, first of all, let's go, Dotiko is such a memorable, easy thing.
Good.
You could cheer that anywhere and it would be awesome. Even if it had nothing to do with Japanese, just like Dotiko. When in the middle of the Shiro Torizawa game where they start singing an anthem and like they all put their hands over their hearts and their hand on the Bible and shit and are all like a choir. They brought the choir and the school marching band to cheer them on at the game. That's unbeatable. That's insanity. Yeah. That's so cool. You can't beat it. It's fucking awesome. It's such like a stark change because it gives like a sense of regalness or royalty, like you said. It's next level.
Speaking of the bands, though, Yunarizaki had like the most powerful cheering squad, of course.
Most unified, yeah.
Yeah, and you could really get into it. Like you're starting to like after the first few times, you're like, yeah. When they're like playing on, but the same time, you're like, no, because this means that they're like hyping up. Mm-hmm. And also, when Saiko came in with the cheering for Karasuno.
But it wasn't that good.
It was good when she came in.
It was a cool thing, but they didn't do anything.
Keep up with it as much.
It was such a missed opportunity that they didn't do what we said and like fuck up the serve. Like they literally set up. They have a crazy marching band in Arizaki, and the setter, the server, when he's up to bat, it's a different game, and he silences them all because he needs silence. They set up that he needs silence. They shut up these two fangirls. Yet we have a squad of taiko drum players. Saiko, who's like super bombastic and loud, and like brings the personality, but she doesn't fuck up the silence when it counts. Like, if you're going to play the metagame,
because they're being less shitty than the other team, because the other team was being shitty.
Even still, I wish that they had Saiko like
just
choose
just
choose not to do it, like as a thing of like, I have faith in Ryu and his team that they can do this without me coming in and like being the one to fuck up the other team.
Yeah,
then it's a fair fight. Like if they made that part of the story, but it seems like it was just a completely missed opportunity from what I can see, which is what I don't like.
I feel like Karasuno's normal cheer is like not that good. Probably like
it's like go. I just like
push
go,
it,
push it, Karasuno, whatever.
It's just kind of lame.
If between the two that I mentioned, Dotoko and Shiro Torizawa, Dotako's is like
it's just
memorable.
Iconic.
It's iconic.
It's so good.
But when it was silent in the middle of those points, when I think we switched sides and we just see all of Shiro Torizawa like walking onto the court, and you just hear like din, din, and it's like everybody's silent, like watching them. It's like this really stark, chilling moment where like they are on a different level. It's a real tone setter. So I'd say one of those two, probably Dotoko if I had to split the difference.
Yeah. So Donovan Crandall asked, what team out of the ones we've seen has the most potential after their third year's leave?
Inarizaki.
Yeah, I guess I don't really
Inarizaki
have
or Karasuno.
Karasuno definitely. Well, I feel like it would depend on who's coming in, because right now on the bench they have 2 pinch servers and like
Karasuno?
Yeah.
They have Suga. They have 3
Suga's
people.
a third year.
Suga is leaving.
Yeah.
Daichi is leaving. Asahi is leaving. That doesn't affect like our main thing. It's like Daichi is not on the court, which sucks. That fucks up our defense. But like all of our best players, other than Daichi and I guess Asahi, Suga's on the bench. Definitely Karasuno. They're gonna step it up. If we get one good first year next year, we will be on a different fucking level.
I think Seijo I think Seijo is gonna have the hardest time.
Oh yeah,
like
they're done.
Severely.
They're done unless Mad Dog clears up his shit and gets his act together, unless they get another really good server from middle school. I don't see them being competitive anymore.
Because they don't have the thing that was like holding them up.
Oikawa took them to the stratosphere. He led them to the promised land. He had such a dramatic effect. He brought the best out of his team.
Of Shiro Torizawa.
I don't know. I think that they will have a chance. I think it'll be different, and I think it'll be a different story.
Yeah, I think
they'll have to recover, but I think they do have a chance because they still have Washijo as a coach.
I think though, with their coach, I wonder if seeing Hinata might change the way he
I bet
picks
it will.
out his
and
team.
I bet that it will change it for the better.
I think so.
I think him letting go of that will make them even better.
He might have a weird year like the next year, but I think in the long run, he could be stronger.
I agree. I also don't know how many years this is going to go on.
Yeah.
So.
I'm just saying as if it's real life.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd say the one with the hardest time is going to be Seijo, I think. Because they Oikawa's effect on that team cannot be understated. Everyone else is good, but he made their team great. He is exactly what Atsumu was saying. He brought the best out of everybody. He raised everyone up. He turned them from a competent team to one of the best in the country because of his leadership. It cannot be understated how much of an effect he had. And Iwazumi as his right hand.
I also think Dotoko. I think that they might do all right depending on where they go from it, because
once their setter gets dialed in,
their setter gets dialed in, and if they can pick up the offense a little bit, which since they got kind of destroyed recently, they might be well, it's good to have the iron wall, but it's also good to have things besides the iron wall. If the iron wall isn't undefeatable, then you need something else, because you can't just block out points and try to win that way when you're still getting scored on because you're not you can't block 100% of the points. Jacob Neyron asked, what's your prediction on how Haikyuu is going to end? Do you have any predictions?
I've been slightly spoiled. Not on the actual ending, but there was that, like, chapter that came back as, like, an epilogue type thing that I told you about that, like, blew up Shonen Jump sales. I saw, like, an image from that, and I saw part of an image, because I looked at part of it. I recognized Hinata was in it, and I was like, I don't want to know anything else, so I just kept scrolling. But, so I don't want to answer, in case I fill it in with, like, something that I shouldn't know.
Yeah. I think it just depends how long it is, and I don't know, but I think it can kind of go as long as you want it to go. It could end at high school, or we could lose this round and have to kind of restart without the third years, but I feel like that wouldn't be as interesting. I feel like I want to either win and then have like a little bit of a time skip and see what everyone did, like who went on to keep playing volleyball, who is like, you know, is Suga like a teacher or some shit, and then he's like cheering them on, still like cheering on his friends that he played with back in the day. Are people, I don't know like how far I want the time to skip. Are people parents and like teaching their kids how to play volleyball? Are people coaches? What I feel like no matter what happens, I feel like you can kind of end it almost anywhere as long as it's like a good final thing.
I would like to see what I would like to see in the main series, like, whatever happens after. Well, I would at least like to see till the end of Hinata's high school career and him graduating, maybe, and like having a bright future.
I guess the thing
later
is I don't need to see every second of that. So if there's a time skip of like, I guess what I'm saying is like if we just have to replay like going to nationals like 3 times, that might get a little bit old. So I would feel like maybe they could do something.
I see the series going beyond just this national tournament.
No, that's what I'm saying. It could also, they could get recruited onto different teams. Like Kageyama was at the training camp, so that when he's in third year, he might be competing in nationals.
Yeah,
we don't know if our team.
Nationals or internationals?
Sorry, he's going to be competing for Japan.
Yeah.
So we don't know how that could shake things up. Karasuno might, not like the way it is now isn't going to last forever.
Right.
No matter what, because the third years are going to be gone.
I'm excited to see how that happens. I want to see that before the end. But like, yeah, maybe like we rise to the occasion and the 3 badass first years, Suki, Hinata, Kageyama. I don't know this. This is something that I have no idea about. Maybe they get drafted to Team Japan like when they're in their latter half of third year or something like that. I don't know what the schedule's like for that, but or something. Maybe they have to leave their high school thing, and that's how it ends. Is like they don't get to go to their final national tournament or something like that in their third year, and maybe that would be like the setup of the third year of our third years currently. Like them choosing to keep going, maybe because they, in spite of how it might affect their future, maybe once we get to third year and we're the third years who have the choice to leave, we do because there's more volleyball out there. We're not choosing to stay for volleyball. We're choosing to leave for it. Maybe that would be cool. A setup.
That would be pretty nice, actually. I would like that.
I don't know about that. That has nothing to do with what I heard.
We got a bunch of questions from Aisha Hamid. And I think we've already talked about quite a few of them, but there's this one, which I think we kind of talked about again, but I just want to read this because it's really nicely worded. Haikyuu is a popular show. At the same time, it's not a staple, like how every beginner always watches a couple of shows like Attack on Titan, My Hero, Promised Neverland, or movies like Your Name, Spirit Away, or whatever.
Right. When
they start off. They generally start Haikyuu later after a lot of coaxing.
Right.
I was the same. I feel like the show's overwhelmingly good popularity, but sort of too good to be true reviews turn off a lot of anime watchers. Like, how can a show about dudes playing volleyball, how good can a show about dudes playing volleyball even be? What are your thoughts on this? And how does Haikyuu sort of change your mind from, meh, this isn't my cup of tea, I'm waiting to be one of the few who watched the show and disliked it, like thinking like, oh, well, I'm probably not, everyone loves it, but I'm probably not gonna love it, or holy shit, I've watched it 10 times already, I love it.
I have an answer to that, but I'm going to go to the bathroom before I give it because I need to pee really bad. My answer to that question is I think that the like too good to be true thing. Oh, sorry. I think the too good to be true thing is a big deal, but I don't think that's the main thing. I think that a lot of people, and we can only speak from a Western audience. I think being in Japan, I think it's more popular in Japan than it is elsewhere. Because I don't know. I think I told you this. Like when Haikyuu was running, the amount of boys volleyball applicants like quintupled. Like it was crazy. The effect that it had in Japan. But from a Western perspective, I think the reason why like people who get into anime maybe don't watch this is one, because they think it's too good to be true. Again, like the how good can this volleyball show in high school be? Like it's just going to be basic slice of lifey, boring bullshit. Nobody even dies, because that's what people think. It's what we talked about before.
They also think like sports anime. I don't like sports. Sports anime isn't for me. That's
what I thought, but I think that it's because what are people? What is like? Think of you when you got into anime, not you, but like me when I got into anime. I was like 18. I wanted to watch stuff like Death Note. I wanted to watch stuff like Attack on Titan. I didn't want to watch like wholesome, nice shit. I wanted to watch like Code Geass, Steins Gate, something fantastic, something spectacular. Not something like that takes the fantastic and displays it in like a mundane setting. Or displays something mundane in a really spectacular way. It's sort of a next step down the road of like defamiliarization, where people get very familiar with something like Naruto or Dragon Ball or whatever, Black Clover, whatever you want to choose, One Piece, and they have an idea of like what this like fantasy, what like their whole like starter anime thing, or they start with something more edgy, and I think that's what a lot of people come to anime for, is like something edgy, something like off the beaten path, or something like not like Western shit. They're trying to like get away from something like Game of Thrones or whatever terrible show that their parents forced them to watch when they were 12.
I hope your parents didn't force you to watch Game of Thrones when you were 12.
That's what I mean, like other like edgy good shows, or like aside from the actual like good shows in Western TV, the bad shows like cop dramas and fucking Law and Order, whatever trash you're talking about. So like people, when they're getting into anime, aren't looking for something mundane. I think that they want something edgy. They want something like Castlevania, which isn't even like anime. It's a Western like attempt at an anime style, and they want something bloody. Like when I talked to like your cousin, who Lindsay's cousin is getting kind of into anime and is watching like a lot of stuff on Netflix. And we were talking to him, and I was gonna get him like a USB stick with like a bunch of shit that I like, and a lot of the stuff that like what would you recommend to like somebody who is new to anime? It's like, well, they probably want something like, I don't know, maybe Devilman Crybaby, or like something with a lot of sex and violence. Like I don't think people, when they get into anime, are looking to get into something wholesome necessarily. I think
it's also because
right off the bat,
people who are getting into anime are not wanting to watch a kids show. They're not wanting
they have a
they're
bias
watching
against that.
A cartoon, but if the cartoon is people getting decapitated and thrown around, then they don't feel like they're watching, not for children.
Exactly.
Not that Haikyuu is for children. I think it's a great show for all ages. Children can watch it and they won't.
It's not the kind of thing that's like trying to distance itself from that. Whereas something like Attack on Titan is like first episode, mom gets eaten, etc., like blood everywhere. It's trying to like, a lot of people watch it because they're like, oh, I don't want to get lumped in with like the weebs, all the people like, you know.
I'm only watching this good anime.
There's prejudice against it from the outset, and that's going away, which might be a good thing or a bad thing, I guess. If there's positive and negatives to not having like the prejudice against anime, or where people seeing it in a certain way, I guess, is changing. People are starting to see it in different ways, is what I'm trying to say. So I think that it's multiple things, but I think that if it could, like, and that combined with like the too good to be true, it's like, oh well, of course these super hyper giga fans are like this show's the best thing ever. They're just fanboying over what they like. It's like people say that fucking Naruto Shippuden is like the best series. People say Boruto is like the best fucking series of all time when it's not. So it's I run into this a lot too. Now being somebody who's seen a decent amount of anime. When you're getting into anime, you have like 50 shows you could watch, and you probably just watched Attack on Titan or Vinland Saga or whatever. So you want to keep going down that path, and that path doesn't lead you to Haikyuu right away. It leads you towards something like Berserk, and then you start to explore different genres and stuff like that. But a lot of people go down like the hardcore path of like fights. They want to see fights and violence. Yeah. And that's just what you get into it, because all the shows that like people do recommend right off the bat are like, whatever. Naruto or something shorter, Vinland Saga, Attack on Titan.
Even now, like My Hero, like the comment said, like, I feel like they're like, oh, you've seen Death Note? Okay, now watch this long running one. Watch this one other one, and like, but all kind of similar.
And if you don't know, sorry, go ahead.
And I feel like, but I do. And I feel like a lot of people are apprehensive about Haikyuu because even you were, and you've seen a lot, but you were like,
how good could it be?
That's probably, I think a lot of people think that's probably just not for me. I like anime like this, or if you're getting into anime, you're like, that's not what I'm coming to anime to watch. But if you've seen a lot, then you're like, that's probably not my thing, even though you haven't watched any, so you don't know, but you just have all these assumptions. Yeah. And maybe you've watched a different sports anime and you didn't like it because you're not that interested and it was just not as good. But I feel like there's, specifically with Haikyuu, I would feel confident recommending this show to almost anyone. Yeah. Because I think that most people can find something to love about it. Yeah. And it is intense. It gets intense. Mm-hmm. Which is another thing. I think a lot of people think like, oh, how intense could it be? How much am I actually going to care about volleyball? Oh, they're just going to be messing around, not doing anything. Exactly. It's so, I think that's a really great point.
That's a great question, actually. Yeah. Who said that?
That was Aisha Hamid.
Okay.
And there's another question from them. They also said, how does the show feel overall compared to others? And what kind of anime would you suggest to a newcomer who really likes Haikyuu and wants something like it? This one's for me. I feel like we had the same question as you in terms of what.
I can't recommend it.
That's what I was gonna say. We are in the same boat of we watched Haikyuu and are like, I want this again. It's almost like when you watch like Death Note for the first time, you're like, I want this again, or I want something like this again. And like we said earlier, we are gonna be watching Run with the Wind, which was the largest consensus amongst when we asked Haikyuu fans on our channel, what do you recommend that's like Haikyuu? That was kind of the one. So we're gonna watch it and we'll find out.
Based on my experience, if I had to direct somebody based on what I've seen, I would probably tell them Kaguya-sama Love is War if they hadn't seen it, and I would probably say Hunter x Hunter. If they were up for something a little bit more like weird and fantastic.
I think Kaguya would be a good one because it's not the same, but it's very wholesome as well. It's very classy, and deals with it's funny, but also deals with emotions in a really deep and interesting way that you don't see a lot. Mm-hmm. So I think Kaguya would be a good one if you haven't seen it, but a lot of people have. That's
the same with Hunter x Hunter. I'm like, if they've watched Haikyuu and they're like getting into anime, they probably watched Hunter x Hunter first. But if they hadn't, I would probably recommend Hunter x Hunter to them.
Mm-hmm. And this is from the same person. They just had like the best, most like detailed and well written stuff. And we've kind of already talked about this, but I'll read it again just because it's so good. And I didn't know this. But the writer, Haruichi Furudate, used to be a volleyball player in high school, as I'm sure you know, which I didn't know.
I didn't know.
And they've said that they lamented the fact that they couldn't play professionally. The way they speak about volleyball is obvious that they absolutely love the sport. That one line from the Inarizaki match, there are monsters like them who proclaim their love for volleyball every day. And the way this love translates into characters like Kageyama, Hinata, Oikawa, Atsumu, and Bokuto is kind of obvious. You can tell how they love volleyball through these characters alone. And they said time and time again that the purpose of Haikyuu was to make people fall in love with volleyball again. Do you think they succeeded a bit?
Yeah.
I think so. I think we already
I
kind of
didn't know
talked
anything
about
it really, and I
think if I watched this in high school,
I would join the fucking volleyball team.
I played volleyball in like grade 7 and 8 or whatever, but I was never serious about it. But I think if I saw, like, I played sports occasionally, but I was never serious. But I never like played sports. But I think if I saw something about this that showed just how rewarding really giving it your all could be, I think
exactly.
I think that genuinely could have changed my life, and I could have, at least for high school, been really into it. And I think later on with things like theater, I think I kind of found that for myself, like finding something, but it took a lot longer. I feel like looking back at my life, if I had something like this that really showed how okay it was to give your everything to something that you're passionate about and take that chance, even if it's not forever, that it's so worth it to be in the moment and put the work in. And I'm glad that this show exists, and I'm glad that it's popular, because I think that it is helping people. I think that if you watch it at any time, it can have a positive impact. But I think especially if you watch it like during high school or even middle school, like I just think that it can really help people and see that it's cool to like things.
Yeah.
That it's not cool to be like Suki. Because I think a lot of people in high school are in that phase where they're like, I feel like on most high school volleyball teams, it's probably mostly people like Suki, like that want to really get into it, but feel like they're not good enough, or feel like it's stupid and it's embarrassing to go all out. And if you're not going to succeed anyway, why would you bother putting that much investment in it? So I love this show, and I love the message in general. And I think that, and like you said before, literally in Japan, boys volleyball sign up went like out of control because it genuinely became popular.
I agree with everything you said. Yeah. If I'm not sure about me when I was in high school, if I would have taken it to heart as much. I would have taken it somewhere. I would have put that energy somewhere. I genuinely think if I saw this in high school me would not have like tried to join the volleyball or make a volleyball team or something, or join a sports team of some kind. But I would it would inspire me
to put more effort
into my fitness or into
just into
something
your passions,
that
instead of just like, nothing's worth my time and attention, so I'm just going to sit around and half-heartedly play video games or watch TV. It's like, because like you did get really into playing the piano and stuff, but like maybe that would have even, I'm not going to speak for you, but like spurred you on in some kind of way.
It probably would have made me want to pursue content creation, because that's always what I wanted to do. I was making videos on and off like for years. And I think that if I saw this at the right time, it would have really like reinforced that. And I think it would have had a serious positive effect on me doing that and taking my fitness more seriously. When I was younger.
Watching Haikyuu, it just looks like it feels so nice to really move your body.
We talked about that like in season 2 or something like that. Like when everybody's training, they're all sweating and breathing heavy, and like just the way that like they're animated when they're running, when Hinata's like getting up crack of dawn, biking to school in the misty cold.
But it looks like it's hard, but it looks like it's so worth it.
It looks like so relaxing and cathartic. Like and the way they animate this, weird to look at the characters this way since they're high school boys, but like to see like how the muscles are animated and how specifically how their bodies move and like their frames and everything. It's just that, like the physicality of the series is so inspiring, and it makes me want to take my fitness more seriously, and like take my health more seriously.
It makes you want to be able to jump.
Yeah.
I have no practical purpose for jumping in my life, but it just looks like it would be good to be able to do, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I feel the exact same way. I feel the same way about everything you said, for sure.
And then this is the last question that I have for today. I know there was like a lot of other questions, but I think we covered a lot of things, like, you know, by answering other things. So this one's from V. You had a lot of great questions, but the one that I decided to sort of tie this off with is, what was the most satisfying moment out of all the satisfying moments? Is there one that stands out to you as the most satisfying? I know what my one is.
Personally, Nishinoya's double receive, but objectively speaking, Suki with the arm pump was the most.
That one is a close second to me. I think for me, the most
Suki's
satisfying was Hinata and Kageyama blocking it, because I just feel like that, just like, even if they never made a season 5, I feel like that moment alone was so satisfying that I'm like, look how far they've come. They went from like bitter rivals and Kageyama just like shitting on him and telling him he was bad, to then figuring out how to be on the same team, working together, competing with each other, and then in like that last moment of that game to just block it. And the fact that then that moment was even more satisfying because their team won at defense and Hinata had been like defending that time. I feel like, to me, the combination of like what that, not just that play, but like how that impacted everything else and how that was built up, I think to me that was why it was the most satisfying out of all the satisfying moments. Buy our satisfying merch.
Why'd you do that? It was so wholesome. Then you shilled it at the end.
Give us money.
You said, because his whole speech, this is brought to you by BOLDcast merch.
This video is sponsored.
I agree. Mm-hmm. And I also disagree. For the reasons I said.
There's so many
that's
good
a really
moments.
good one. But yeah, out of all the there's so many satisfying moments. That's why, you're wearing a shirt that says it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so many things like that in the show. It's crazy. The show brought us so much.
So much joy and laughter.
Can't wait for
and
season 5 to come around.
And flying onto the floor. We're so invested in the show. We can't wait for season 5. And some people did ask if there would be other like Haikyuu related content on the channel.
Yes,
I think so.
As much as we can manage. If you guys give us some ideas, we got some tier lists. Maybe,
yeah, we're gonna be doing
like
so many people. This was like one of the top questions, but I didn't do it in here because we're gonna do a separate video on like making teams and ranking characters and stuff like that. So that's gonna be separate. If you're wondering why we didn't do that in here, this video is already so long and we had so many great discussions, and that's like a whole other thing. So thank you guys for watching. Please please subscribe. If you weren't subscribed to watch this whole thing, thank you. And yeah, please like this video. It's very important because we want to make more of these and we want them to do well and for new people to see them.
Exactly. Expect more stuff like this if you do subscribe. Hope you enjoyed most of all.
Bye-bye.
I'm Carson.
I'm Lindsay.
Bye-bye.